does. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. We're dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. Search but you stay lost.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the World Championship of 2026, and it is going to be the first round once again all over, but this time around it is going to be different faces. Not so many upsets that we've seen over the course of the first couple of days, but extraordinary. A really good match yesterday. Couldn't watch it in full, but the things that I've seen, and especially the second session that pretty much was able to watch from start to finish. Fantastic performance from Karen Wilson. Really good win against Stan Moody, despite Stan being clearly the man in the opening 10 frames to beat. But of course, couldn't quite keep it all together. And then, of course, if you have a respot frame that you win to try and prevent from going 3-8 down, then you have a frame to go 6-8 down. You need to find 3 snookers. Somehow Wilson was able to get himself on a free ball. Fantastic performance to, make it back to 7-0 after trailing by 7 frames to 3. And then from that point, realistically, I feel like the 17 frames sums it all up. A really good performance from Moody, but at the end point, just didn't really have to be taking that black on, as Dennis Taylor said in the commentary. Could have easily played a safety out of it. Decided to try and take it on the cushion. He wasn't perfectly on the cushion there with the black, so that made the shot a little bit more difficult for him. And yeah, it was no surprise that he missed. And of course, if you miss those type of shots, you're always bound to leave them over the corner pocket, which was exactly the case. So that was Wilson taking the second round prize against Moody. And yeah, the thing about, the predictions for me so far, I managed to get every single match right, which wasn't difficult. It was the qualifiers that we're talking about. But of course, I was a little bit surprised where Zhang Anda has been leading 4 frames to 6 and then lost 6 on the bounce. So that Mark Allen is to play Karen Wilson in the second round. So that's the only one that I got wrong. I actually managed to get the scoreline right on the match of Hawkins against Stevens. Yeah, it wasn't a great one to watch in the first session. I haven't really bothered to be watching it in the second one. But yeah, Hawkins will play Mark Williams, that has managed to destroy Anthony Kowalski. In terms of the scoreline, I wouldn't say in terms of the performance, because Anthony played really well during the parts of that match, and the fact that Williams had to be taking it on the last black with a really good long shot in the 14th frame probably says it all. So yeah, let's talk about the pairings then. We've got Zhao Xington against Ding Zhuyi, the second round match that no matter what happens in all the other ones is certainly going to be on the coverage. Xiao Gron is ready to meet either Sean Murphy or Fang Jingyi. And remember, I did say the 2 underdogs for the quarterfinals, potentially, but certainly for the second round, is going to be Fang Jingyi and Si Xiaowei. We'll get to that part of the draw in a moment. John Higgins has managed to defeat Ali Carter. The captain saying that he had no run of the ball at all, and Higgins heard that as he was walking past Carter and clearly said in his post-match interview that he disagreed with it. But, listen, it's part of Carter that, sometimes he can't see when he's going to be getting the luck over Higgins. But as I say, listen, he flicked that tremendous blue off 2 jaws in the middle pocket and flicked it into the left middle instead of the right one. and that was potentially preventing from Higgins to go 5-1 up instead of being 4-5 down at the end. So, yeah, it just depends on the way you look at it. And as I say, Wilson against Allen, Kyron Wilson against Mark Allen, Barry Hawkins against Mark Williams, and then Weezer has got a brilliant run against Lee Beifan. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get into the second round this time. You know, he was able to do that against Kyron Wilson last season, which, remember, the Warrior only got his first win at the Crucible ever since that fantastic win. For him, it was pretty much the worst World Championship that I've seen personally, but it doesn't matter for him. He gets himself a crown on the board. He won the Masters earlier this season with this particular cube, but he's saying that he's not enjoying it, and the best thing about this cube is that he's going to have to swap it after the tournament is over. So needed to try and play around with a tip, which doesn't usually work out, but from 6-3 down, you know, if he was ever going to go one way or another, he was always going to be on the better side of things for Kyron, and that was exactly the case, winning 7 frames on the bounce and making himself to go into the second round. You know, probably the toughest of matches that we've seen so far. Yes, Ali Carter was putting up a little bit of a fight, but let's be honest with you, for me, Higgins always had that one under control. And especially with just not too much of a consistency from, you know, the Bators Valley, but he was always down to Higgins being the one on the front foot and always trying to set up the pace to that particular match, as it's only going to be 2 minutes from welcoming the players. It is going to be the introduction of brand new 2 matches out there, Chris Wakelin against Liam Pullen, and then Judd Trump against Gary Wilson to try and get us on the way. And yeah, listen, on this particular match, I feel like there's going to be loads to talk about, but from Trump's point of view, you know, of course, he's going to be the second seeded because of the specific of the Crucible, that you have got the former winner to be taking the number 1 seeded place, which is perfectly understandable, but it won't really be understandable for Judd Trump's point of view, because right now he probably has to, in my opinion, he has to face against the best qualifier that there is going to be at the Crucible this season. You know, by far, the player that has managed to achieve most out of them all. Gary Wilson being the runner-up at the Wuhan Open, managing to get himself through to the quarterfinals of a couple of other appearances as well, being in there in contention for the Northern Ireland Open, but ultimately, you know, it was thrashed, but still managed to get himself through to the quarterfinal of the World Open, as he was losing to Chip Chayanu. So Wilson, after his win over Shu Si in the Judgment Day of 10 frames to 9, is going to be a real threat out there, as he now joins Liam Pullen as the qualifiers to try and make it through past Chris Wakelin and Judd Trump. So it's all going to be an old English party for now, but let's see which one of them will be able to take some sort of an advantage over the first session. As it certainly seems like it's going to be in great spirit there, the exchange in between Wilson and Pullen. With the noise in behind the crowd, we don't really be able to hear what that's all about. But anyway, Wakelin is about to join them, and not sure if it's going to be just a special walk out for Trump, and he's going to be sort of taken down the stairs, and 3 of the other players will just have to try and take the shortcut towards the table, or is it going to be all 4 of them to walk out with the same thing? And yeah, it's going to be a bit special there because you know, I've seen clips on BBC where they already had their scoreline of 7 frames to 2 in favour of Chris Wakelin. So we'll have to see on whether that prediction from BBC is going to be true. But in the other match, I probably would say, you know, we've seen 2 debutants for now lose out in different fashion with Kowalski and with Moody. You know, one of them put up a little bit more of a fight in terms of the scoreline. The other one was challenging for pretty much every single closely contested frame. But now we're about to welcome the players into the arena. And yeah, for me, the first session of the main match is going to be down to Wilson to try and outplay Trump. Because, you know, remember, Trump comes into this match after a horrible battering at the Tour Championship final over to Xiaozington. So it could still be, you know, a bit of a nightmare for him to try and feature. But ultimately, I feel like he is going to be a little bit too strong over the course of 19 frames if you compare him to Gary Wilson. But you know, when it comes to the first session, Wilson said he needed to improve massively on his game after that Judgment Day win over Shu Si. So you'll have to wait and see on what's going to happen out there. But for now, it's stable number 2. And it's Liam Pullen. So Yeah, let's see if I was just waiting to see after the famous introduction of Mark Williams against the second session of Anthony Kowalski. So, have to wait and see if Rob Walker is going to try and do that on Liam Pullen. For now, seems like it's all going to be respect. And quarter-final appearance that he made in China, I have to be honest with you, I don't really remember that one. He certainly hasn't done it in the Shanghai Masters, not at the World Open. So he has to be down to Xi'an Grand Prix or the International Championship. So don't really remember either one of them. But anyways, Liam Pullen, he's going to be the first of the 4 players to get introduced on the table number 2. And now his opponent, Chris Wakelin, the winner of the Saudi Masters. Sorry, not the winner of the Saudi Masters. The winner of the Scottish Open early this season. The semi-finalist of the Saudi Masters. He's managed to get himself through as an established top 16 player right now. And as he mentioned himself, he is going to be competing at the Crucible as the seeded player for the first time. He could be up against Pang Jing-Su or Neil Robertson in the second round, and could be up against a legend of John Higgins or Ronnie O'Sullivan in round 3. Anything but easy, but he's still going to be a great walkout for him, as he's going to be looking to try and get himself through to the second round. Remember, he has received a really good draw last season in terms of the way that he's managed to outplay his opponents, and of course was still a victim of Xiao Xingtong in the quarterfinals, but now seems to be in great spirit. Let's see what his spirit is going to be after 19 frames of action, potentially to be there, because as I say, I would expect this match to go the distance. Whether it's going to be 19 or 18 frames, I certainly think that Wilson is going to be a great challenger for Trump. And it's going to be Gary to try and make his way onto the arena. Listen, it will come down to the second session ultimately, but whichever one of these players is going to be able to get themselves a little bit of a handicap, then is going to be a great momentum swinger for them, potentially, to be taken into the evening session as well. Because remember, this match is going to finish today at 7 o'clock in the evening time, whatever happens in the first session. Even if Trump or Wilson go on the run of winning 9 frames on the bounce, then it's still not going to be possible for them to get themselves through to the second round. But now it is going to be over to the player that has underachieved at the Crucible slightly after his fantastic performance against John Higgins in the final of the 2019. It was a season that was taken by storm by Watchalong. Can he try and make it past probably one of the trickiest sides of the draw and try and get himself as a real contender for this year's Crucible crown? To me, not really, but this is where it starts. You can't really write him off before the match has got underway. And right now, he's about to show the world why he is the world number 1, or potentially show why I say Gary Wilson is going to be by far the toughest qualifiers of them all for you to try and be up against. Matthew Stevens, Stan Moody were the ones that I would have said can potentially make a game out of it, but Stevens hasn't played his best snooker against Hawkins, and as I say, Moody just, looks like he run himself out of momentum, really, and at 14 onwards, really, because even after that respot, he still had a couple of chances, wasn't able to win those frames, but now it is going to be Gary Wilson to try and prove to be the only qualifier for now that will be through to the second round. So far the likes of Carter, the likes of Stevens, the likes of Kowalski, and the likes of Liam Highfield and David Gilbert have all been eliminated, but it's a decent opening shot there. It does remind you of the red that Stan Moody was taken as his first shot of the Crucible against Karen Wilson. So let's see if Trump is going to go for that same variety of a shot. And he's trying to play it as a cross double. He gave himself a little bit of distance to work there as the cue ball was passing the red on his way up the table. So yeah, certainly would expect this one to be a pretty quick match in relation to the average shot time, the way that the players are going to try and go at it. Twice they met against each other this season. One of them was in the last 16, the other one was in the last 32. So Trump managed to win the one at the Northern Ireland Open, 4 frames to 1. And then, of course, Gary Wilson was victorious in the last 16 clash at the Wuhan Open, 5 frames to 4, on his way to being the runner-up to Seoul Gadon, that has managed to win it for second consecutive year. And Wilson is potentially going to go for this red into the corner. Whether he was trying to just get that one away from the right corner of the table and to position the cue ball for the black ball cushion, because it seems like he wasn't really trying to play for the black, and he hasn't left anything for Trump. So it seems like that was an intentional shot for him to play. And yeah, Trump will just try and carefully plant that red towards the right side cushion. Make sure that if it is going to be a cross double, you'll be limited with the angle over to Wilson. Therefore, make it as difficult as you can. So yeah, the players that will win this match will be up against either Si Xiaowei or Zhang Wafei, which once again I'm looking forward to that match for the neutrals perspective, because I just don't understand, the way that everyone seems to have written Si Xiaowei off after that match. And yes, beyond the quarterfinal stage, it doesn't seem to be that strong, but when it comes to getting through the first couple of rounds at the Crucible, let's probably say it's exactly why he's still going to find himself quite comfortably in the top 16. Because if you take their performances out of 2024 and especially 2025, he's certainly not going to be into the world number 16 for now. As it stands, it's a really good shot there by Trump, managing to get a good kiss of the brown as well, as he now pushes two of those reds to be on the right side cushion. The black is still going to be covered up slightly from the right part of it, but Wilson should still have a straightforward safety to play from the left-hand side of those reds. Push one of them towards the black, which is not going to be ideal, going to be anything but possible, into the left part of the table. And if you play that positional shot well enough, you should have a chance to try and get yourself lined up with a shot into the right corner. For now, Trump is leading the poll by 78%, which for me is a little bit premature. But, it's Crucible that sorts out the best from the good from the greats, the best from the great, and then the good from the bad as well. And for now, it's a really bad shot there from Judd Trump. And let's see what Wilson is going to be able to do here, because the previous time of asking, even though Trump had that cue ball to be planted exactly onto the ball cushion, I still thought there was enough of a distance for him to try and get away from the pocket. The execution said otherwise, and as I said, the black is going to be possible into the corner, but he needs to make sure he's going to be on the left-hand side of it, and he's played that shot superbly well to try and get two kisses of the reds on his way towards a perfect positioning shot on the black. And this is going to be the first real chance to be given towards Gary Wilson. Remember, he's still going to be very much the 7-time world champion, featuring in the afternoon session, as Wilson tries to include the entirety of that pocket. Make sure you don't get anywhere near that front jaw, and exploiting the most out of the back-end jaw out there. And starting himself with a break of 8 points. Finds himself with a little bit of a nasty cut to be taken in case of a positional shot, because he didn't have the brown or green to be available, and he seems like he's overplayed for the blue. Well, it's going to be anything but easy, because control on the cue ball has to sort of exit the chat there, if you like, because it's going to be a shot with loads of power, and he just about judges that force on the blue perfectly well, rolls that blue with no power at all. At the end point, he's going to have the perfect shot on the positional play as well with the cue ball. So for now, the first couple of shots, especially the first red and the first blue, have been really impressive there for Gary Wilson, as he's now looking to try and make an early dent in that Trump's chances of winning this match. By the way, the fact that Trump is going to be rated as 120 for this match to be won is purely and utter disrespect to me, because, if you look at the previous meeting in between the two of them, it seems like Wilson is going to be anything but a comfortable opponent to Judd, and we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here. But he's certainly no one new to the Crucible, and if he tries to make the most out of the first round like this, then he's certainly going to be a great part of that quarter to try and make it to the semi-finals. And he could be facing either Weezer or Mark Selby, of course, if you look at the quarter-final appearance. But as I say, for now, the last 16, with Si Xiaowei or Zhang Wafei, is going to be very much on the perfect schedule for him if he is to get the better of the world number 1. For now, just carefully trying to take the pink. Make sure he's got those colours to be sorted out, because for now, the reds are going to be in perfect position for him. But the same can't be said about the colours. He's going to have the black, the pink, the brown and green to be compromised. So for now, he only has got the blue and the yellow to be in somewhat free space, and he now plays nicely off the left-hand side to be just about top side of a blue, and carefully make his way towards the lower end of the table again. Just needs to try and get rid of those reds that are going to be surrounding the pink as it stands, and that way He's going to give himself a room to try and play for the pink. And of course, at that stage, you need to be doing that very, very carefully because, you know, so far with all the first frames that we've seen, it will be down to just making sure you don't make an early mistake here. And so far, 28 points later, in a pretty difficult position, it is still going to be a very interesting thing to be watching. Watchalong, hello there. Hello, everyone. Hello, the mods in the chat. Pretty simultaneous appearance. And yeah, as I say, I mean, it is going to be Chom's match to lose, but I would certainly say for me, this is the easiest upset for you to predict in the first round. Yes, I thought Zhang Anda against Mark Allen was going to be an upset as well, but the qualifier out there couldn't make it as another player from China to reach the second round to add to the count of Xiao Guodong, Ding Junhui and Zhao Xingtong. So far, we could still see the likes of Wu Yize or Li Beifan. And then, of course, Xi Jiawei against Hossein Wafei. As, by the way, that seems like it is going to be the first real trouble here for Wilson. As he now got himself on the wrong side of the blue. So if he tries to keep that white to be pointing at the top end of the table, he doesn't really have the angle to try and take this one around the world, you know. So he may have to just try and dig in really deep onto the white, try and position himself for a mid-range shot. But, I mean, this is a great thing about this red, that this is going to be the shot that frees up the pink. And that boosts the chances massively for Wilson to try and win this frame with a single visit to the table. But first, he needs to take this one. Ooh, a horrible twitch that it would seem, but what a nice shot that was in relation to the accuracy. But, you know, I'm not sure if that was the camera angle or something like that, but it felt like, you know, something dropped out of the cube there. But he certainly played that red with loads of accuracy, and he's still going to be perfectly on the pink. Cannons another red out of the way. And now surely on his way towards the finish line, still going for a 1-3-7 right now, after his break of 46 points. Now about to be lined up for the red to be taken here into the right hand side of the table, then position himself for the pink, which is now available into the right corner and the left middle, and just carefully play for those reds to be taken at the right corner. Well, he feels otherwise. I'm not sure whether that was the intention. So sad Moody. Not really. I mean, I understand the point that you're making, Letitia, but listen, it's the debut at the Crucible, and I feel like he's done really well. But for me, it's always, you know, it's always nice to see someone like Kyron Wilson to win it, especially since it's his first win ever since that triumph over Jack Jones. Of course, he lost against Li Beifan in the first round of the previous season, on his way to, you know, crowning a new champion of Zhao Xingtong. So, listen, it is sad from Moody's point of view, but as he said in his social media post, he should learn from it. His short selection has been dreadful. You know, it's worked for him at the qualifiers, but against Jiang Zhang. But even then, at that point, for me, the signs were there. He was never going to take them because he won that match. But when you take it to the decider and you watch that match back, you can see that Jiang Zhang was thriving on the factor of Moody just giving away those chances, not taking the right shot, always going all-out attack, which, to be fair, you can make a great point towards Moody being fantastic at those attacking shots. But, you know, when you have got two separate sessions, you need to make sure you find a balance in between the playing the attacking shot and then playing a safety shot as well. By the way, Wilson is going to be lined up on a frame ball, and this is exactly the danger which he possesses the break time of just over 7 minutes, and now he's about to keep Chomp in his seat throughout the remainder of the frame and get himself on the score sheet to be first. Probably he's going to try and play this shot carefully with backspin to make sure he's going to be positioned for the ping. But listen, it's a thing for Kyron which is a little bit sad for me if he's going to go out without a fight to Allen, because, you know, I expected a really positive interview over his first match with Stan Moody. It was anything but positive, because he was saying that he's struggling with his cue badly, and he sort of reminded you that match against Elias Lesser in the first round of the UK Championship, where he was trying to battle his way to the end, but then he still found himself being at 6-4 down. So, yeah, it was just one of those things where you know, you had to try and dig really deep, because even though if you're not playing well, you can't just say, you know, I'm going to back my cue and do a Ronnie O'Sullivan against Stephen Hendry of that UK Championship semi-final. You have to try and find until the best. And, you know, he says that Alan potentially is experiencing similar sort of issues. So he may just be the lesser of two evils to see which one of them will get through to the third round. But listen, to me, it's full credit to Kyron. It means so much to him. And from being 7-3 down, some of the frames that he's won, that respot, the factor of him being 3 sneakers down and still able to win that 14 frame was very important. And now Gary Wilson is finally going to run himself out of position after being 77 points clear. Well, of course, Trump won't see any point in coming back to the table, but it is Wilson that takes the opening blood away from the Triple Crown set winner of Judd Trump. I'm pretty sure he's going to be the most recent player to do that. You know, Robertson, Selby, Murphy, each and every single one of them have done that before. And right now, we've got Liam Pullen on his way to try and take the first frame against Chris Maitland. Interesting fact for you, by the way, because Kowalski took the first frame against Williams. Stan Moody took the opening 3 frames against Kyron Wilson. And now Liam Pullen is 1 shot away from being clear, barring Stukers, of the first frame with Chris Maitland. Wait, Moody lost. He certainly has. You know, he was winning by 7 frames to 3. And, you know, then Kyron Wilson's got on a huge run of winning 7 frames in the bounce. And doing that on the last black in frame number 17 after Moody had a very ambitious clearance. Had loads of issues to sort out, but in the end just came up a little bit short on the last black and still tried to cut that one in, despite the commentators begging him not to do it, with Dennis Taylor and Stephen Hendry both saying that he wasn't worth for you to be doing that. So for the youngster, yeah, but listen, you pretty much never do that at the Crucible from the first time. We had 3 debutants. One of them is still playing right now, and he's about to take the first frame against Wakeland. But realistically, and that's no disrespect to Chris, I feel like the only player that can realistically win this match. I said that, you know, Moody could outscore Wilson. He couldn't outplay him for me because of how many more things Kyron has got to his game. But yeah, if you talk about the first session, that he was flawless from Stan Moody's point of view. And now, come back to the first table here, because Judd Trump so far has had a very quiet frame, and he's about to find himself breaking off really well. And it seems like the cue ball is going to be within very close distance of the yellow. And now it is going to be a really good chance here for Gary Wilson to try and play a shot from, well, he feels like he can do it off 2 cushions, which is a little bit weird to me. I mean, to me, that is an absolute horror of a shot that you could have played. And that is why Trump is still going to be considered the favourite for me, because that was an absolute utter joke of a shot there from Wilson. You know, he's played that with way too much power, way too little preparation. And now Trump is going to find himself with an absolute freebie of a chance as he takes the first red into the corner. Listen, at least Wilson had to try and really work for his chance and force Trump into an error. That was a good break-off shot, but it wasn't anywhere near good enough for Trump to be getting a free chance like that. Now still needs to be able to take the difficult black into the corner. He's done that, and this is what I mean. This match could easily go and finish before 1 o'clock in the UK because of how quickly the chances can come and go there. And usually, I'm not going to say anything about this particular match, but usually those 2 players are going to be very ruthless when it comes to utilising their chances and taking the frame with a single or just 2 visits to the table out there. For now, Trump is about to get his first chance of this encounter as he overruns for the red slightly. The factor of the red being very close to the corner might help him here, but still a little bit awkward for him to try and bridge over those reds. And don't take those for granted. He still needs to try and cut this one into the corner pocket without catching the front jaw, which he has done. So now 17 points clear. And now looking to try and make it past these black with, he's way too straight on this one, so it has to be taken really deep onto the cue ball. Play that into the right side cushion, and even though he is going to be slightly on the wrong side of a red, you can't really take any chances with it. Trying to get that cue ball too close with the red, because he could easily be hampered by another red. And that's going to be a break over for you. For now, he's still taking that red, and he nearly took 2 for the price of 1. That is a fantastic shot there by Trump, and I tell you what, 25 points right now he's still going to be on the black, and with the way that he's managed to separate those reds away from each other, it's not a gimme, but he may have a really decent run here, you know, to try and go for a potential Phantom 147, at least at the early stage of it, because I can easily see 3 more reds that he can take with a black. And now I've seen 4 and 5 reds, but of course he can try and focus on winning the frame first. But, you know, that was my point of view. Trump clearly is going to be way too focused on trying to make it through to the second round here, not taking any chances, especially after going a frame down. So he's going to play for the pink straight away, which, you know, is down to him. But I actually feel like it's going to be more difficult for him to try and get onto the next red from the pink because of it awkward positioning here. But at least he's going to find himself heading 39 points after the pink. He's probably about to play for the red at the top end of the table because of the blue being out of position and joining the brown of pretty much both of those colours to be sharing the brown spot. He will be down on playing for potentially the bold colours. I don't know where the pink is going to go because it may well go into the blue ball spot. As, yeah, I feel like Trump may still regret playing for the pink here, you know, because he clearly didn't have any of the angle. The good news is the pink is going to go onto the blue spot, which makes his chances to be boosted a little bit. But at the same time, you know, he's got a difficult red here to be taken into the corner, and he needs to do loads of work in terms of his cue ball positioning. The red is comfortably in, and the cue ball is going to be on the pink, not comfortable. So he's going to have to try and bridge awkwardly over a red. I mean, it's one of those where you can just try and roll the pink in, but with how close the cue ball is going to be to that red, it's still not going to be pretty. But he's able to take it. He's probably about to be taking the same red, which he was just hampered by, towards the left middle. The pink, of course, has had a bit of a short journey towards the blue ball spot, and he's about to be heading back to its usual surroundings. And Trump is just going to carefully take that red away into the left middle. Make sure he's got that cue ball to be playing around the house, at least halfway there. And be positioned on either one of those 4 colours, with the bulk plus the blue all to be available to him. So he's just going to be looking for the best possible angle, which probably leaves him down with the blue or the yellow to be taken here. But of course he would like to see the blue to reappear at the usual surroundings of his, but what he doesn't want to see is that blue to be staying at the table. So the first real chance there of Judd Trump to be winning the frame, you know, he was only 1 shot away there, it would seem, from fully recovering from, for me, bizarrely, to try and choose to switch the colour from the black to the pink, and 4 shots later, he's finally paid the price. The blue is going to stay out, and the break of 47 points is going to be the end of Judd Trump. But you know, as the blue was hammering down the table, he sort of caught their cue ball halfway through and pushed the white to go even deeper down the lower end of the table. So right now, it is still going to be a hell of a long shot for Wilson to even try and get on the score sheet as he decides to play it safe. But yeah, he's just trying to get one of those reds to be an open play. He's got another one of those to be positioned very close to the left side cushion there. The red that basically killed Ali Carter in the, you know, 16 frame, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was a little bit before that, where he was trying to make another one of those great clearances, which is going to be very much John Higgins' style, but, you know, just come up a little bit short on that red, tried to play it safe, didn't manage to get that cue ball to get past the pink, and then Higgins cleared up in his nice fashion. I think it was frame number 15, actually, for Higgins to go and take 9-6 or 8-7 of a lead. Can't really remember. So Wilson right now is about to have another couple of those safety shots to be played, because for now, it is going to be an advantage over to Wilson in this particular battle, because he's the one that tries to get those reds to be in open play, because he's the one that needs all of those reds. You know, Trump is only going to need to score around 20 more points or so, and then he should be clear of any danger of, you know, going 2-0 down. Of course, Wilson finds himself in a position where he needs to paint total clearance, certainly in terms of those reds, but ultimately, all the way up to the blue, I would say, until the point that Trump is not going to be coming back to the table. For now, Judd is, of course, going to be trying to take a little bit more of a risk, but this does seem like a really nice line with the cue ball, as it drifts a little bit at the end. So it does seem like Wilson is only going to have one of those reds to try and play with. The question is, what can he try and do with this red? Because, you know, he can't take it into the right corner, which limits it down to either try and play this one very thin on the edge, which doesn't really open up too much of a space there, because, you know, if you try and hit that red thin, the cue ball is going to be heading way too close to the right corner. So let's see what he's going to try and do here. He's still trying to do that. And yeah, he's played that shot really well. He needed to really get the thin contact of that red, and yeah, he's going to get a reward of a nice little kiss on the green as well. So, I mean, even though Trump is going to see more reds than the lonely red that Wilson could see previously, he's still going to find himself in a position where it's far from easy to try and play a decent safety shot out of it. So Trump is going to consider all the options that he's got available to him. But at this stage, I probably would say, just try and make it past the first shot that you're going to play in relation to, I mean, is he just going to try and drop this cue ball onto the black ball cushion? Or he's trying to do a swerve and a spin there. That's a really good shot there by Chom. He may be unlucky, you know, because of the way that he cannoned those reds into another. Wow, he's left them perfectly set up for a plant. There's nothing he can do about it. It's purely down to luck, but Wilson now has got an absolutely freebie of a chance to try and take those reds away from the left-hand side of the table. I mean, it's not going to be easy for him to be positioned for the colour, but I feel like there is going to be just about enough space for him to try and take the cue ball past the three reds and the black, and then get himself lined up with the shot to the ball cushion, because realistically, I don't want to jinx him or anything, but the distance in between those two reds is non-existent, so you can't miss this red, and it's all going to be down to playing for the colour, and that's exactly what happened. The red has gone in straight to the heart of the pocket, but the cue ball has got stuck in between those reds, and his only chance of trying to continue the break is going to be a really difficult pink to be taken here, which, I mean, it's not easy. So you may as well try and play it safe here, because it's still fine in relation to those points, and it doesn't really mean anything if he takes one of those reds without a colour. But right now, just tries to give himself another colour in the open play there, as he puts the blue to be closer to its own spot rather than being lined up on the left side cushion. But of course, the previous shot that he's played has actually pushed one of those reds to be on the, what's it called, on the left side cushion, although it's Trump that is about to take that red away and push it down the table towards the black ball cushion. So yeah, I would still probably say it's 80% for Trump to win this frame, for all the difficulties that Wilson will have to try and find his way through. And yeah, it's going to be really difficult for him to try and get the starting point in, but even if he does do that, then it's going to be down to patience. Although, if he finds a shot like that, he's going to be in with a great chance there. It's a really good shot there from Wilson that gets the second red away. And let's see, he's certainly going to be lined up for the colour this time around. And it still doesn't really change my mind, though. He's got way too many of those reds to be in a problem position on a black ball and a side cushion. And even here, you know, he's perfectly lined up on the green, but he's almost like too straight on this one. So it seemed like backspin is going to go out of the window, so he just has to try and play this cue ball around the table. But even then, he was going to be on the wrong side of the red. And look at that for a shot. Brilliant. He may be a little bit too straight for this one, but once again, what a shot that was to try and get that cue ball to be running from two cushions. And look at the effect that he managed to receive there. Probably has to go for the more difficult cut of those reds, because, you know, there's not going to be any value of taking that carefully into the, with a straight shot into the left corner. He has to try and play towards the blue or the pink. He's done that. He got the red in, so he's still going to be on the wrong side of a blue. So I would assume he has to try and take the pink right now. Hello, World Championship, and hello. So 41 points right now is going to be the difference in between the players. 67 at the table. And of course, Wilson still has got one more colour to try and get here. So if he gets the pink into the corner, then he's going to try and carefully play for probably one of the last of those available reds before he gets to the four ultimate tasks there for him. But listen, it's the same as you have got with the likes of frames that we've seen from John Higgins and Karen Wilson as well against Ali Carter and Sam Moody. You just have to try and take that in stages. And if that means that you have to try and put two of those reds without the chance of getting on the third one, you just do that. You try and take that with as many points as you can, and you just have to sort of realise you can't do it in a single visit to the table, as Wilson there takes a really nice red away. Although the fact that he's underrun for this one slightly, may have to use loads of the side on the pink, or just settle for just trying to play a safety shot of the last of those 4 remaining reds. So, what do you mean of championship? How's it been so far? Well, it's been entertaining. I feel like we have been missing a little bit of drama because I'm pretty sure we haven't seen any one of those matches to go beyond the 17 frames. Ali Carter against John Higgins had 17 frames. Then we had Stan Moody against Wilson, 17 frames again. I mean, Allen against Janganda was 10 frames to 6. And by the way, Wilson clearly trying to separate the reds away from the left side cushion. Way too little angle to try and work with those two. And in the end, it's not going to be enough for him. So a break of 17 points does seem like it will be the end for Gary Wilson. It's still not a bad beginning though, because he puts himself in the window of just 29 points behind, which ultimately puts a little bit more pressure on Trump, because right now, even though you feel like he's in a comfortable position, for him to take this comfortable position into a frame win, he still needs to try and work pretty hard for it, because at this stage, Trump will probably need 3 of those reds there, which is the only, 4 reds are the only difficulty right now on the table. All the colours are going to be possible, apart from maybe the black, which neither one of the players will need at the end points of a frame. So the factor of Wilson having his biggest issue of trying to get those 4 reds in the pockets, well, Trump, to win the frame, needs to try and pot 3 of those 4. So it does seem like the 17 points from Wilson doesn't seem like they're important right now, but they may still to be very crucial at the end point of a frame, as now Trump catches that red way too thin. He gets that cue ball on a journey lower than the black ball, than the bulk line. And now the question is, does the white go past the blue? And can Wilson try and pot the red, which is not going to be over the pocket, but it's still going to be the red which you would expect him to pot into the corner nicely. So that is taken away. He needs a huge bounce on the white here. Needs it to go beyond the center point of the D. Well, it seems like he's just about right there, because I was thinking he may be hampered by the green, but I feel like he may just have the chance to try and get through to the cue ball, even if he wants to try and put unwanted side on it. But it's all about just having to make sure you're not going to try and bridge over the green, which will allow you to try and get closer to the black ball cushion, which is going to be the place where the 2 next targets for him are going to be positioned for, because, the red on the left side, unless you take that one out of the game, which is something that he's trying to do, but listen, it's a really difficult shot for you to try and go with, but he may have actually done it perfectly for a double. So let's see what Wilson is going to do here. We've seen that with Karen Wilson, we've seen that with John Higgins, we've seen that with Ali Carter, we've seen that with Wu Yize. All these players have been taking doubles, not taking any prisoners. And by the way, majority of those doubles, I don't want to put any pressure on Wilson here, but they certainly have made the target. And I read online that Ronnie's supposed to be travelling from Dublin to his matches. Yes, that is true. It's because he apparently feels like it is cheaper for him to be commuting from Dublin, because apparently that's why he wasn't here for the opening day alongside Trump. I'm not sure if that was the same reason for Trump, but it certainly should be the reason for Ronnie. Because he's not a UK resident right now, and he lives in Dubai, for tax reasons, he needs to make sure he limits down the days that he's going to be spending in the UK. So, Dublin is going to be an island, which is not part of the Northern Ireland, which is not part of the UK, which is why, O'Sullivan clearly feels like that's going to get him, a little bit of, whether it is going to be down to money or it's just going to be preference of his own. It could be both, it could be neither. But for now, it is going to be the story out there. But he certainly should be making his way towards Sheffield now, because he's about to play his match in less than 4 hours right now against Watchalong, another qualifier that you could say is not necessarily going to be the easiest target. But I would honestly start to get really worried about Trump in his first session, because right now, he literally half a second ago, he's gone for a long red himself. He's missed it by a country mile. He hasn't left anything easy, but still, look at that precision from Wilson. Perfectly opened up the angle and used the front jaw very wisely to a minor effect. 47 points down. I said it was going to be impossible for Wilson to try and do it, but he's about to go for a 3rd run here to try and make it past this frame. And needs a bounce on the cue ball, but doesn't want it to get too much onto the white. And he seemed to have played this one perfectly well once again out there. I don't think it'd be cheaper. Yeah, but I assume it's going to be one of these contracts down, or, you know, if you're going to have one of those things which you have in the UK where it is either going to be 20% of your earnings or it's going to be down to zero. So with the special tax system that you have got in Emirates in Dubai, it could well be down to it. It could well be just his preference where he prefers to be in Ireland. You know, he says that he was playing in golf for John Virgo Trophy organised with Snooker 900. He's managed to absolutely batter Stephen Hendry and John Higgins in first 6 formatted matches. So, you know, and he also, of all the top 16 players, apart from maybe someone like Kyle Wilson, that wasn't playing the Tour Championship, he comes off very fresh into this tournament. And Wilson certainly doesn't seem like he's, you know, too worried about him being fresh. He's struggling badly with his equipment. And now, this could be a shot for the frame now for Wilson. Seen those missed, seen those taken. But this one is going to go straight into the heart of the pocket. And now the only place where it can go wrong is going to be that black to yellow transition because of yellow being out of position. So you can't really just play it in the middle of the ball colours and the blue. He seems like he's going to try and put this one closer to the ball cushion. He seems to be good. Does he have the pace? He's got the perfect pace. Just about pulls up in time there for that cue ball to be alongside the yellow, but ultimately on the lower side of it. So just try and carefully drop this one off the left side and be lines up for the green for a straightforward 5-colour clearance. You know, it's certainly going to be Gary 10-5. Well, let's see if it is going to be Gary to try and win it by 10 frames to 5 because, you know, as I said, I would expect 17 frames at least to be seen here. Could well be a decider or 18 frames to be seen as well. But for now, it does seem like the perfect advertisement for snooker is about to be unleashed here because let's have a look how Pullen against Wakelin is doing. For now, it is going to be only 2 more shots needed for Gary Wilson. Oh, I mean, he doesn't want to be straight on the blue. Just about on the wrong side of it, you know, so he's still going to have a bit of a job to do on the paint with a frame ball. Opens up the angle to have more of the pocket to aim at, as he's got the cue ball slightly too close to the side cushion, but ultimately something that he had to do. So just try and carefully take this one away. He's not going to bother about the black because it means no difference to him. And after being 47 points down, incredibly, Gary Wilson is the one that comes out on top in the second frame. I said he was only down to 20%. He needed 4 goals out there to try and make it past, but in the end, he needs a break of 40 points, which leaves him winning the second frame and making sure that it is going to be Gary Wilson 2, Watchalong 0. And, well, 120 before this match has started. For me, it was 150, and that's been generous to Chomp. He's not really been a huge fan of those first round matches at the Crucible, but right now, it seems like he's certainly going to be struggling to a good point here. As by the way, Wakelin finds himself, 31 points behind. And can he try and take this one with a double? The question is, he's 31 points behind 35 of the table. So which colour does he need to take right now? He needs to take the brown or higher of a value. And then he should be able to do it without a respot. So I would expect him just to try and play safe. So yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a really good start of that for Pullen, because I know that, you know, Chris Wakelin has been a bit of a mentor to both Kowalski and Pullen here. It's a really good shot there by Wakelin, by the way, because he manages to, you know, leave that cue ball close to the ball cushion, but ultimately in behind the yellow there in relation to the red. But listen, I always said down to the opposition, but also down to the opposition that Liam Pullen was able to beat in his qualifying matches. I genuinely feel like this is the one where we could actually see the debutant to be progressing to the second round. He's beat Amir Sarkosh in a really bizarre fashion because he was trailing throughout the majority of the match despite playing better snooker. Then he's managed to outplay Chipchaya Nu, and then he's done Naponso Kom quite comfortably at the end point, you know, whilst being in charge of that match at the 90% of the encounter. So, you know, it's been a couple of days since those qualifying matches have finished, but at the same time, it's been around 3 weeks since we have seen Chris Wakelin to try and play at the Tour Championship, losing out to the eventual winner of Zhao. And right now, it's a really good escape that from Pullen because he finds, you know, Chris to be the one snookered by the black, and he's able to get a contact on the reds, and he's probably just about forced that one to be further away from the green pocket than it to be dangerous. And for now, as you can see, the only break that we've seen from Trump is 47 points. You know, the one that looked like it was going to be the difference between losing and winning the first frame. In the end, that wasn't quite the case, and the breaks of 40, 17 and 5 points have proved to be enough for Gary Wilson to try and take it down into somewhat comfortable of a gap. And if he's managing to keep this 2-frame advantage to himself until the end point of the session, of course, remember, you can't finish off the the first session whilst leading by 2 frames. It has to be either 1 with 5 frames to 4 or 6-3. Or of course, it can be down to 7-2 and incredible 5 frames of the advantage, which I still feel like we're going to be quite far away from. But 3-0 leads, and all of a sudden, it's going to be game on there for Wilson to try and do all the early damage away to Trump. Still feel like it's going to be down to his own game there with Trump, as he's about to play exactly the same safety shot as the one that he started with frame off. You know, putting a little bit less of side spin on the cue ball, but needs it to make sure he's going to be perfectly onto the cushion, and that's going to be close enough because he was going to open up the red to be available to be taken into the right-hand side of the table here for Wilson. So let's see, Gary has a little look towards it, but I feel like he's going to be down to just trying to get that cue ball into the corridor with a little bit of space, which he probably doesn't really have at this stage. So just try and play a different safety shot of approach and try and get himself through. Oh, that's a fantastic shot in billiard, but it's not really great in snooker. That cue ball has gone all the way and dropped into the left corner. But I tell you what, at this stage, it may actually be the best thing that has happened to Wilson, because if you leave that cue ball to be running around the lower end of the table, then it's going to be anything but easy for you to try and keep that one away from Trump. But of course, even with the ball in hand, he's got a red which you would expect Trump to take. And don't take anything away from the pot, but he would be down to the positional shot on the black, which he has played absolutely perfectly there. And this is what you don't need to be doing as Gary Wilson. Give an early chance away like that for Trump, and surely this one is not going to repeat the story of the previous frame, where we've seen the break of 47 points, and Trump sort of faded away there. If he gets himself with an early chance, you know, that his ability to try and play through those shots with great power, his ability to try and get himself out of troubles with the type of a shot that I just mentioned, although he certainly had to play that red far away from the foam jaw, which to me may still suggest that he either didn't play that one too well, or he doesn't feel like he's got loads of confidence to try and take it into it. But this should be a perfect break to try and restore his confidence, because he's got about 6 more easy reds at least after the one that he's about to take. And what do you think of Gary Wilson winning 6 frames in a row, 7-3 down, and Mark Allen winning 6 in a row to both win? Yeah, I mean, different perspective to me, because I genuinely thought Zhang was going to be too strong, which is a little bit weird if you consider his size against Mark Allen. But yeah, I felt like 5-3, 6-4, I certainly felt like that was going to be till the end, but it seems like Allen, which he's got great ability of doing, he just found too much form there for Zhang. And, when you do that at the Crucible, you very rarely see 2 players to be playing their best snooker. Usually, it's one of them that gets thrown under the bus and feels all the pressure of the crowd, and basically feels like it's the hostile environment for them to play in. By the way, Trump there, trying to go around those reds, needed to make sure he got a little bit more purchase on the cue ball. You should see enough of this red about to be taken. Oh, he's going to go for another one. I'll tell you what, I didn't see that one coming. He needs to play this one really well to avoid the contact on the other red, and he has done that well. Listen, I've seen those missed yesterday. I'm pretty sure that was David Gilbert against Ding Zhuyi, where he was taking the red into a similar corner pocket, and I was screaming at that point of the screen saying, don't do it, because there's no way you're going to make it past the other red without making contact. But, of course, there's going to be a class and a technique difference in between Trump and Gilbert. But, yeah, listen, it's fair play to Mark Allen, and, you have to do better as Zhang taking a 6-4 of a lead, because he's not debuted on here. He's been playing in Triple Crowns for a couple of seasons at least, and he's made a maxi in the UK Championship of the first round, the famous interview of Ronnie O'Sullivan, saying no free lunch for you when you realise that you have to make 2 to get that 147,000 worth of prize money in thousands of pounds. If you make 2 across the Triple Crown plus Saudi Masters. By the way, I was looking at the stats for Ronnie O'Sullivan yesterday, and apparently it does say that he's made 3 147s, but unless I'm missing one, he says that he made 2 in the same match against Wakeland, and then of course he has made a break of 154 points. So, sorry, 153, I always get that one mixed up. 153 points against Ryan Day in the quarterfinal stage. So that's still going to be close, because he's going to be, bigger than 146. Still classify that as a 147, although technically, of course, it wasn't a maximum break. Now Jump running himself a little bit wide there. And once again, it's not quite as tight as the previous red that I mentioned, but this one still has to be taken really well. And it was taken well. The contact on the reds wasn't wanted, but the cue was still going to be lined up for the blue nicely. I would not be surprised if this went 10-8, 10-9. Well, it depends, because you still need loads of factors to try and get a 10-8 or a 10-9 out of this match, because I'm not even saying this in defense of Gary Wilson. This is a horrible shot there from the pace judgment from Jump, and he may have to bridge over 4 reds. I mean, the red that he's playing for right now is going to be pretty much in the pocket of the right middle, but it's really difficult for you. I mean, that bridge is about to be 3 times as long as it should be, as he tries to just carefully take that red up. When I say carefully, he's played it out with about as much power as he could. Look at that for a recovery. Brilliant there from Chomp with the amount of power. Once again, I mean that when he is able to get through to the cue ball nicely, but his cue power is absolutely out of this world. And that's the reason why sometimes you feel like he's going to have to surely play safe or settle for his last color or red to be taken, and somehow he still finds that extra edge on the cue ball to be positioned perfectly for those reds. But as I said, he's about to be taking this cue ball into the reds, and has he played this shot well enough? Well, the short and sweet of it is no. Don't really understand why, despite having such great cue power, he decided to try and take cue power away from it, roll that cue ball into the 2 reds, which, listen, he probably caught the wrong one of the 2, but it still really doesn't explain to me why he was trying to be so conservative on the power, and they'll play a really nice safety shot. And now it's going to be a little bit different that for Wilson, because he's now behind by 64 points and 83 available at the table, because right now he still finds himself on the back foot because of the great safety shot there that Chomp has played. But ultimately, if he gets the first chance in with Wilson, it could be even easier for him to try and take this one away. Let's see what referee thinks of this one. And I'm not sure if he's asking for a confirmation that he can't see a full ball, because I'm not even sure if that's a contention. He can't see any one of those reds, even halfway there. I wouldn't even talk about seeing one of those reds full ball, I should say. So the 3 miss rules certainly shouldn't apply to this one. Maybe he's thinking about trying to go in between the yellow and pink and try and catch that red full ball so that he leaves that cue ball to be on the black ball cushion. But that's risky, because you get a little bit closer to the left side, and that's going to make it a calamity of a shot for you to play, because inevitably the cue will go into the red on the left of it, and that's where anything is going to be comfortable there for Wilson. That's probably when you're going to have 2-1 of a deficit after the opening 3 frames to be confirmed. But as I said, you could see that one with Chomp being able to cover up the only sort of red in the open play. It was going to be a good safety shot, but I certainly didn't feel like it was going to force Wilson to be thinking more than a minute and a half on this shot. Let's have a look at how Wakeland and Pullen are going to be doing. One of them has played a really nice snooker behind the black. Let's have a look at this one. Wow, that is a brilliant shot there. Let's see who he was. He was a white shirt. He was Chris Wakeland, of course. So 18 points, Liam Pullen is clear of Chris Wakeland. But this pink is super close to the right middle. And we've got 2 pretty much exactly identical situations where Liam Pullen is on 64 points. Chomp is on 64 points. And right now, is he going to be able to hit the pink? It looks good. It looks good. Wow, it's not looking good now. And somehow he was able to find that cue ball to go all the way into the middle. And all of a sudden, this could easily be the steal of the tournament. Because forget about the 3 snookers that Kyle Wilson has needed. As Gary now plays his own shot. 2 tables have got the best action that you can possibly imagine. Well, listen, that's going to be absolute devastation there for Pullen. And a very early blow there for him. Wakeland just needs to make sure he's going to have that cue to bounce slightly away there from the black ball cushion. And he's now going to be on 58 points, 6 points behind. Ultimately, 7 points at the table. Can he try and cut this black in? Don't know what you're doing with that camera angle. Now it's better. Surely he's not going to be able to miss this one. And wow, what a steal that is. And I tell you what, if he wasn't his mentor, he would be absolutely devastated for him. But of course, he's going to be the one playing against Pullen. And that was a fantastic steal of a frame. As Wakeland still finds himself very much in the hunt of 1 frame each. And yeah, Pullen will be devastated with that one. But Trump doesn't feel like he's enjoying himself out there. Because I mentioned a minute and a half taken on the Gary Wilson shot. It's now more than 60 seconds on Trump's shot alone. I don't really understand why it's taking him so long. Because, you know, he was clearly just try and play backspin shot into the cue ball. Try and leave that one as close to the black ball cushion as you can. And just hammer that raid towards the top hand side of the table. Because no matter what you do with it, no matter how many kisses, unwanted stuff he's going to get, it's never going to be visible there for Wilson. So, you know, maybe Trump was trying to figure out a better escape route for him. But now he certainly feels like he's got Wilson into a little bit of trouble. Not all sorts. Because he hasn't put that red over the green pocket. Which may have been the intention, really. Because you can't, as I say, it's impossible for you to try and get through to that red. Unless you're going to literally hit it from the left side. Which is going to be ridiculous at that stage. But, of course, Wilson now is going to be allowed to just try and carefully take this cue ball towards the ball cushion without... Yes, he's going to leave an easy safety shot away to Trump, but he's not going to leave a chance of cutting that red to go into the green pocket. So, yeah, it's going to be all down to the other stuff there for Trump to try and put a little bit more pressure on Gary. 2 or 3 frames lead is not 50% win. Up to now, Let's haven't been winning 4 or 5 frames and yet eventually lose. True. But I would say you only have... I mean, tell me a match where we've seen 4 frames of a deficit, apart from Moody against Wilson. And, you know, he needed to see a load of factors in there because Wilson was playing absolutely horrible snooker in the first session where he couldn't string a break of 30 together. I don't know how he won those 2 frames, by the way, in the first session. And very important for him to win that 9 frame as well. But apart from that, I'm pretty sure there wasn't... Well, I may have been a 3-0 lead, but a 3-0 lead at the Crucible doesn't mean anything unless it's going to be 9-6. And even then, I mean, just like Brissell in his first match against Gilbert as the defending world champion, he was 9-6 leading. It looked like he was going to be on course to try and break that first round of the Crucible curse. You know, it wasn't the case really, was it? Well, that's a horrible shot there by Trump. He certainly didn't see that one coming. And what did I say? Despite the 64 points of a lead being even more comfortable than 47, this could easily be exactly the same story all over Trump again, because that's a horrible shot that he's played, and he's left every single one of those reds to be available for Wilson. So, if it's going to be any more than 64 points of a total clearance, he could easily be putting Gary Wilson as the favourite, as long as he take this red away, which, once again, could not have been any easier for him. It's now down to the green being the only colour out of position, but still nowhere near good enough for you to count that as insurance. Listen, I said that in the second frame, I said that in third frame. How on earth is Trump allowing Wilson to get back in the action and become himself and become the favourite here? Because right now, yes, he's 56 points down, but tell me he's not going to be, you know, more likely to win and take a 3-0 of a gap than Trump is going to be to try and you know, get himself within 1 frame of a distance away from Wilson. So this is going to be where, I am going to say it, Wilson is not going to be a Stan Moody. As much as he's one of those players where he can easily lose it, and he's got a little bit of a bad temper, but I'd say half of the players do that when they're not playing well. So, yeah, if he's going to get himself with 3-0 of a cushion, then, of course, you're going to have the 4 frame to play. And I always say this, although it may not seem like that, but Trump had 2 perfect opportunities in the second and third frames. It's only a matter of time until Wilson is going to get one of them as the starting point of a frame. And then who says that he's going to be making the same mistake as Trump and not going to have the same break as 77 that he had? But this could be a horrible mistake there from Wilson. And that is not the way that you want to be marching on towards the 3-0 lead. That was something that he absolutely must have avoided there at all costs. And now It's not quite frame over, of course, but it does put him pretty much in the same position as he was previously at battle for those 4 reds, because he's not going to be able to get anywhere near that plant because of how far away it is going to be heading from the pocket. So what he has to do is just try and play a careful safety shot from this red, unless he attempts an absolute mad shot to try and cut it, which of course he hasn't. So try and just take that cue ball into the safe spot, but still, a break of 22 points is going to be, yeah, a huge underachievement there from Gary Wilson to respond to that break of 60 points to be made by Chump's point of view. And now it's going to be Judd, once again, that finds himself in a position where if he was to pot the red and the collar, he needs 2 reds to be fair, but even if he is to pot a red and a collar, he's certainly going to be getting himself into a real chance. And surely, as Chomp, you need to take advantage of that mistake from Wilson. And to be fair, he just put the yellow to be onto the ball cushion, pretty much tied to it. As much as he's going to have green for company, which is not usually a great chemistry mix for someone that is trying to put those colours safe, he was still trying to attempt to pot the red into the corner. He didn't get too close to that one, but right now, he's managed to cover up the black, which, you know, Wilson only has himself to blame, the fact that he has to try and dig really deep. And ultimately, when you try and free up the black with another red, you always put yourself a little bit on the back foot there, but that's certainly the way to control the pace of the cue ball. Really nicely played out there. And now we'll be down to a really good opportunity here for Wilson, because the only thing I'm still thinking of, you know, the 4 frames of a gap. We've seen Higgins take a 4-0 lead against Carter. That's a fantastic shot, by the way, by Chomp. And now let's see if he's going to be lined up on either green or yellow. It gets a little bit of a touch, and he's not perfect on either one of them. He's not going to be taking the yellow here, surely, but he should be able to just try and take the green away. Roll this one through the left side cushion. Ooh, that was close, but he got that green in. He certainly wobbled, and he hit the far end jaw with way too much of the angle. So, ahead by 46 points. Points left 51. That red needs to find the back of the pocket, but that cue ball needs to be hammered towards the top end of it, because forget about trying to kill the frame here. I mean, Chomp was taking a bit of a prisoner there because that was close. He caught the front jaw, which sometimes is going to be an unforgivable thing to be doing at the Crucible. He still managed to get the cue ball far enough so that he's going to be taking the blue away, but that would mean he's not going to have an easy route towards playing for the red. So now ahead by 52 points, remaining of 43. You know, Wilson will come back to the table if he's going to be 3 snookers required, or a snooker and a free ball. For now, just try and carefully take this red away to make sure he will be 2-1 of a deficit. I'll tell you what, after what we've seen from Chomp, he will take that in a heartbeat, and it's going to be a win of the frame for him, that's for sure, because he's about to take the blue with this one as well. Why couldn't Pullen just drop the blue towards the pocket? Had the chance to do so a few times, eventually miss snooker and lose. I haven't seen that. I've only seen the applause from the table, and I thought something must have happened brilliantly. I thought someone won the frame, and then I realised he managed to get the snooker Wakeling on Pullen. And of course, I've seen the miss to be taking that cue ball towards the middle, but I can't tell you. But listen, sometimes that happens, and we'll see. I feel like, you know, it could wake him up a little bit, or he could go on a run of Chang Min Yu and lose 8 frames of the bounce and get Chris Wakeling with 1 frame away of being into the second round. As Trump trying to get himself to get going in his terms of his playing, and a little bit of exhibition there on the green and the yellow. Tries to hold that cue ball nicely for the brown. Going to be the break of 27 points here for Judd. And let's see if he's going to try and double this one away. Oh, he's tried to cut this one into the corner, which was never going to happen. And in the end, he will be. A break of 27 points there that leaves Watchalong at last to be taking a frame away from Gary Wilson. And now it is going to be Watchalong 1 and Gary Wilson 2. And at the last of those frames before the intermission break. And by the way, Pullen, he's going to have a chance. He's on the pink, which means he's on the break himself. He's 18 points down. The position is not ideal at the first glance. He made the pink in, which is good. Yeah, it's going to be quite nasty for you to try and win that frame with this position right now. It's a really weird position of the 6 reds underneath the pink, really, because, you know, you always see it to be absolutely identically perpendicular, sort of underneath the pink, and right now, it's all going to be down to the right side massively, which makes the split to the pack very difficult, especially with not having the the black or the pink to be available in the shape that they have to be. The black is not available at all, and you're not really going to be able to have a firm contact from the pink to try and separate those reds away from each other. Now he's about to try and do this from the green. It looks really good. It deserves a little bit of luck, and he certainly got it there, Pullen. So, well, this could be a perfect response to try and put that previous frame behind him. He's certainly done that a couple of times where he only had himself to blame in qualifiers, and he was still able to come away with a better performance later on and try and win the match from that point onwards. So for now, it certainly seems like he's going to be in a similar position here as we still wait for, I feel like it is going to be John to try and break this one away, because Gary was breaking off in the first frame, which means that even frames are going to be down to the world number 1 to try and break away. Mooney had a great start. Many commented that he became cocky and paid the price, lesson to be learned. I wouldn't say he became cocky, because I understand what they mean. I feel like he was down to, he worked for me before, so I'm going to try and do it again. The thing that he didn't realise is that he worked before against the likes of Jiang Jun. I can't remember who he played before Jiang Jun, but listen, just because he works against qualifiers doesn't mean he'll work against the world champion. That was the world number 2 a week ago, and he still got $500,000 worth of ranking points to defend, because remember, nobody's got as much to lose as Karen Wilson, as it's a decent break-off by Trump, but he still leaves the red away. But this time around, Wilson's going to miss this red, and has he left a potential chance for John to try and take the red towards the green pocket? This could be a bit of a momentum shift, because Wilson wasn't missing those long reds in the previous couple of frames. All of a sudden, as Pullen seems to have had his luck to be taken out of him, and he will leave Chris Wakelin in with a chance. Well, the problem with rookies is that sometimes when things go wrong, it is very difficult for you to try and turn this one around. Let's see what Chompy's going to be able to do here. He has to take this red into the green pocket because he doesn't have any risks with it. He's taken that one beautifully well. He left that cube a little bit too far away from the black, but it's going to be down to the angle. If you can try and avoid making contact with the red, try and just position that cube on the left-hand side. By the way, what a red that is. Brilliantly taken. You know, it was way too close for it to be a comfortable shot to the red, but he needs to have just about as good of a black to be taken. He's taken that black, but he leaves himself with a mighty shot once again into the green pocket, potentially, if that does go and pass the green, which I'm not sure about. Because, as I say, he needed to make sure he avoided the cannon on the red that he was always going to send the cube towards. He didn't do that. And now, this one is a horrible piece of queuing for you to do. Can he try and make it? Oh, that is an absolute horror of a shot that you've taken. And that is a rookie mistake there from Chomp. He misjudged the power badly. And he just dropped that cue ball into the left middle without any cushions or jaws to be touched. You know, he hasn't got the red into the green pocket as well. The question is, has he left this red away? And there's your answer. Gary Wilson is going to be playing for this red into the green pocket. And, yeah, right now, he will be down to just trying to take this red away, which, once again, I mean, you see the replay. It felt like he just didn't get anywhere near the contact point there on the red. And, you know, if he's going to try and take this red away, then he will be down to just purely the positioning on the blue, because he still has got one more. Can someone please tell me the score, because I have to keep the screen off so the t-shirt does not give out? Well, that's an interesting comment there, but the score is 2-1 in favour of Gary Wilson. He's currently on a break, which is going to end here after he scores 6 points out there. Can someone get the commentator off who's on beside Hendry? The stupid child is just reading it for everyone. Well, I feel like you're not really going to be calling Dennis Taylor a child, because he's anything but the child. If you're talking about Stephen Hawthorne, then I do have a little bit of a mixed opinion about him, but it shouldn't be that bad that you should get him kicked out. But listen, it's not. As a player, I feel like it's really difficult for you to be trying to stay on the tour and also to be doing commentary there and punditry, which I never liked it as a mix, by the way. I feel like nobody in the world of sport can do it to a great extent. I feel like someone like Higgins, who's way too experienced for you to have an impact. Yes, he's a 4-time world champion. He can do what he wants. But someone like Murphy, with all the respect, I know he doesn't work for BBC anymore, because they couldn't agree the pay, but I'm never a fan of it. And I feel like only the special class of Higgins, maybe Williams, just because, he doesn't give a thing about it anyway. Maybe Ronnie, but I wouldn't actually say Ronnie's going to be a great example of that anyway, because, he needs to get his head in the right direction with, his preparation and stuff. And if he's going to be doing punditry, even if when he's out of the tournament, I just feel like, he unleashes the part of the game which he doesn't really need to know about. And I would rather him just focus on the game. But yeah, it's one of them things. I do love listening to Hendry's commentary, by the way. The fact that he brings his short selection, the fact that he's brutally honest, the fact that he's not afraid of saying that was a stupid shot and you should be doing something else is a great thing to the game as well. Anyway, back to this one. It seems like the safety battle is about to come to a potential conclusion here because Wilson has left Trump with a chance. It's not an easy one. It's a long red with a cue ball to be quite close to the ball cushion, but this one can be taken. And if it is going to be trying to take this one away, then he's certainly going to have a chance of trying to go for the red into the corner. But the problem for Trump is going to be is that if he tries to try and play for the black, it's going to be a very minor room for him to play for. I don't know what he's done, but he certainly hasn't done himself a lot of justice out there. It's a horrible safety there for Trump. 68% of a safety success. I do wonder what the other 68% are thinking about, because for now, it seems like he's going to be under 50% there with how many mistakes we've seen. The good news for Trump is that he's still left Wilson with a semi-difficult shot to be taken. He doesn't want to overcut this one. And, well, that's not a nice positional shot either. I'm a little bit surprised that he refused to be taking the red into the right corner. I knew that, you had to be playing for the blue from that one. Do you do this every day? No, but you will be for 4 out of 6 sessions that we'll be doing. We'll be doing this one. They'll be doing afternoon session of Ronnie against Cher. And then we'll be doing the finish of this match, Trump against Wilson. And then tomorrow at the 2:30, with Wilson has got a horrible miss. Let's see if he's going to be on the red. He will be. And of course, that's going to be a chance given away to Watchalong. And then it's going to be the finish to match of O'Sullivan against Cher Gauchon at 2:30 tomorrow as well. So it's a bit of a marathon. And then we should be back on Friday with Ding Zhuyi against Zhao Xingtong, the match that I was thinking about it actually. It's one of those matches where I'm just going to enjoy it because I know it can't be boring. I know it can't be bad standard. And I know that whoever wins out of those two, I am going to be having a smile about as wide as my face when I see the outcome, because either it's going to be Zhao Xingtong, which is great to watch, a new generation of Chinese snooker trying to beat the legend of the game, the Dragon, or it's going to be the Dragon that outlasts their Cyclone and manages to have one last chance to try and make it to World Champions for China. Because I'll tell you what, if Xingtong does it in 2025 and Ding Zhuyi somehow, as Trump needs that cue ball to slow down before he goes past the red, listen, it seems like he certainly doesn't have the cue ball to be in control, and listening to him, especially when he needs to play those difficult shots away. But the contrasting point to it so far has been that every single time he finds himself in a difficult position, he's able to pot those reds so far, and it's exactly what he's done here. But is he going to be one shot too many? He needs that yellow to go over the pocket so that he can try and pot it now. He hasn't done so. So it's going to be a difficult ping to try and take into the middle. It's great when I get these for morning session because you cannot get BBC iPlayer in Ireland and no TVs in school. Well, as I say, I am from a different country over school, but one thing we certainly didn't get is a TV in school. And I suppose you do get to sort of expect that from the modern generation. But that's a horrible shot in the end for Chop. Not for the execution because of how difficult and close it was, but for the consequences. He's managed to separate those reds away from each other so well that Wilson will be a little bit of a, negligent player to try and not use this one to full potential. Let's see if he's going to be able to do that because he's got so many of those reds available. Hi there, John from China here. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, John. Not many players, but not many people, by the way, that I know from China that are going to be Zhong. But fair play. What time is it here? It is going to be 10 o'clock in the UK when the match has started. It will be around 11:20 as I look at the watch. So it's going to be an hour and a half for us to get through in 4 frames in best case scenario. So watch the Murphy versus Fan match. Best match so far for me. both potted so well. Can you bring me a little bit of the story on the backstory on what happened with Murphy trying to, well, quote, okay, let me do this differently. Sean Murphy posted on his social media asking and saying, just a friendly reminder, make sure you're going to be, if you're going to be in the front row, make sure you don't shout, quote, shit shot after every single time I do it, because it does put me in a bit of a bite mindset. So if you know any backstory to it, then it will be very interesting to know about it, because it's a little bit weird anyway that he has to be doing that, because surely if you buy the front row, you should be doing a little bit better than, you know, sort of shouting that, especially after a bad shot to be played. But I always say Fang is going to be my underdog alongside Czhou Wei to try and go not deep, but certainly through to the second round and defeat Wafei and Murphy out there. With let's see if that's going to be the case, because, you know, I've seen loads of Fang in qualifying and I haven't actually seen too much of great things about him. But from the backstory of him, you know, defeating Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final, it doesn't go unnoticed, does it? Even though he was quite a couple of years back. So for me, the best match that I've seen so far, it was probably, no, it wasn't Zhao Zichun against Liam Harvey, because I do apologize, but that probably was the worst match that I've seen. As much as I was really happy for Zhao to get over the line, I mean, it's just taken so much out of me. It was a Saturday night, and I remember just finishing off it with the evening. I'm saying, oh, I'm so glad I'm not doing anything on Sunday, because that match was way too long from Highfield's point of view. And I get why, because he's a qualifier and he's going to be up against the very best, but yeah, not really going to say that I'm a fan of those type of matches. So I was really pleased to see the lineup of Ding Junhui against Zhao Jingtian in the second round, because that match is going to be anything but slow. As Wilson, by the way, takes a nice red away underneath the black, which would have been classified as one of the more difficult for him to try and pot and continue the break to be going, as he's now going to be on the break of 28 points. Still looking for that ping to be taken into the right-hand side of the table. And yeah, if he's going to try and take the cue ball towards the top end of the table, he still needs to make sure he doesn't forget about this lonely red closer to the right corner. Well, I mean, don't tell me he's done that accidentally. He left himself a perfect angle. If he goes deep onto the cue ball to try and get this red away, he doesn't go deep on the cue ball. So it seems like he's going to try and avoid doing that. Yeah, I thought he was going to try and make contact with the two reds next to the black, but he sort of played that one with topspin instead. He wants to be on the lower side of a blue, and he's just about going to be on the lower side of a blue here. Who are you supporting this match? In this Judd Trump against Wilson, I don't care. Honestly, the good thing about it is that I will support Ronnie, but apart from that in the World Championship, it doesn't really matter to me. I just hope to see a great snooker, and so far, we've seen that from Wilson on 3 of those frames, and certainly what a great shot that was. Fantastic bit of cueing there to go around the house. And yes, it's not perfect in terms of the lineup that he's given himself to try and take this red to the yellow pocket. And he's put another red to be saved, but listen, those can be missed, but I feel like they're always a little bit easier for you to take than the ones into the left corner, because of, you know, Robertson ultimately saying on his couple of interviews that the fade of the table and the way that the cloth is going to be lined up, that makes the yellow pocket as the widest one of them all. So let's see if that's going to be confirmed by Wilson. I do expect him to get it, but it doesn't mean that he will. And he has got it. Brilliant shot there, nicely played. Doesn't want to be straight on the yellow though. Well, he doesn't want to be straight on the yellow. And the problem is he probably needed to have that cue ball closer to the red to try and make any progress with one more of those reds next to the brown. The question is, does he go into the right corner? Because if he does, he just needs to try and hammer this yellow home. Well, to be fair, he's done that without hammering. He certainly had loads of the angle out there. So the question is, does he go past the blue? Because if the answer is no, he should be rolling the cue ball in behind the brown, which he should do anyway, because this red is a lot more important for him to try and get rather than the colour after it, because he eliminates 8 points to be scored for Trump, and ultimately he was going to put him 40 points clear. Had to be taking that red away. He didn't do that, but in the end, he's managed to play a really nice safety in relation to the position of the cue ball to be right underneath the yellow. And Trump will be lucky if he trails 3 frames or less after the first session. Yeah, because the thing about Trump is that he's going to be either 3 frames or 1. And if it's going to be one frame, then he is going to be lucky so far from what we've seen. Listen, it's sometimes you can easily overturn the deficit after the first intermission, but for now, it does seem like he's struggling. And we've seen Wilson to come back from being 47 points down in a more difficult situation than the one that Trump finds himself with. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if Trump is able to do that. For now, he's unable to escape from the snooker on the first time, which he needs to be careful about because right now he finds himself 43 points behind. Trump plays pretty boring these days. It's an interesting comment that, because as much as I don't think it's true, I also feel like there is a little bit of point of truth in it. I wouldn't say he plays boring. I just feel like with Trump, you expect such a great standard of play, and you expect him every single time he gets a half-decent chance, he's going to be able to take it away out there. Trump doesn't seem like he's got perfect placement there on the cue ball, which does look fine for me, to be honest with you. I don't really feel like there's going to be a lot of the distance for the cue ball to be put somewhere else, but yeah, I feel like with Trump right now, he's sort of lost the ability recently, in the recent couple of weeks and months, to try and take those frames away without second invitation. As by the way, Wakely manages to win third frame as well. So let's see what the referee's outcome going to be on this one. Yeah, it's on the replay for me. It's a really bad replay, by the way, because it doesn't show you the same picture, so it's difficult for you to tell. It does look absolutely fine to me. So yeah, let's see if Trump is going to be happy with that one. He seems like he sort of got himself a little bit more to be blocked off by the yellow diagonally across the table. The line seems to be a lot better though. So whatever it was, the adjustment, it certainly seems like it's worked out really well for Trump. And he's now going to be down to Gary Wilson to try and get just one more red, and that will leave Trump to be eating snookers as it stands, because he'll go 44 points clear, whilst only having 43 in the open play. But listen, I've always said it, unfortunately, for Judd, and I've got great respect and great love for him for the way that he plays the game, because of him bringing something different. Apart from, you can praise the players for the perfect way that they have got the cue ball control, but even though Trump is still an attacking player, he plays the game a little bit differently. So you always do want to see a player like that to be reaching the end stage of the Crucible. Surely he hasn't gone for the red like this. Wow, that was risky from Wilson. And why? I mean, surely Trump can't allow to let him off the hook on this one. I mean, that is probably the most ridiculous attempt of red I've seen at the Crucible, certainly this season, but maybe even in a lifetime. I mean, remember the red that Bruxelles was taking against CJW? That was, sort of praised to bits out there. That was at the point where the frame was won. Surely Trump has to be taking the shred away and punish Wilson for it. Well, listen, it would not have been the way that the first session has gone, because even though Wilson's gone for an outrageous shot like that, it is still going to be receiving a red over the green pocket, because Trump has missed it and Wilson is not going to be able to miss this one, even if he wanted to. And it's going to be 44 points of the advantage, which leaves Trump to be needing snookers, but I'm pretty sure with the blue to be taken, that will put, well, not really put out of the equation, because it's still going to be only 2 snookers needed. And yeah, for Trump not to be rising from his seat until the end of the intermission, Wilson will have to try and take that blue away and make contact with those reds. So he clearly decided just to try and take it slowly. The recent tournaments that I see Trump played, it looks like he's tense. I don't know what it is, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's playing well. He was playing really well against Robertson in the first session. I felt like he faded a little bit away in the second session, the semi-final of the Tour Championship, but he could sort of completely understand at that stage, because he didn't need to do anything, because he had a 7-1 lead against Robertson. And as much as you can give loads of respect away to Neil, I mean, honestly speaking, are you really expecting Neil to come back from 7-1 down? It's a good shot there by Trump. It may have come in a little bit too late though, because he manages to catch the red a little bit thin on the edge, but clearly played that with a little bit of frustration and got that cue ball to be joining on the World Tour and being way lower than the bulk line. So this makes this red cuttable for Wilson, and that surely is going to bring the end to the first mini session. And Gary Wilson is going to be taking 3-1 of a lead. It's not quite 4-0, which I suppose is the only good thing that you could say about Trump's performance in the first 4 frames. The fact that he nearly lost the frame while scoring a break of 60 points and having 64 points of a lead probably says it all. The fact that he's lost that second frame despite being 47 points clear and having such a difficult position for Wilson to try and get himself out of, and the fact that he wasn't able to get anywhere near this particular frame win surely shows that it is going to be Wilson's first session to lose, because Trump is going to make it past his chair, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be any point to try and continue to see this match to go on. For now, it is going to be the intermission, and let's see if it is going to be the rejuvenated and hopefully Trump that will be back to somewhere near his best to try and challenge Gary Wilson a little bit more, because for now, it seems like the world number 25 has got it all under control. Because look at the total points. It doesn't tell you the whole picture, because once again, total points 231 for Gary Wilson, 153 for Trump. Box body 44 for Judd, 71 for Wilson. Pot success 92 for Wilson, really good stat there. 86 for Trump. Long pot success 50. Across 67, safety success 64 to 91. Every single one of those stats is pretty much dominated out there by Wilson, because you can see highest break 60 and 77. But it's not even down to that. It's not even down to 40 and 43 of those breaks that he was making. But it's just the way and the shape of those, every single one of those frames that we've seen. And yet pretty much every single one of them could and easily should have been won by Gary Wilson. Because if you take that miss that he had on the positional play from the blue on the red for the third frame, where he could have easily made the break off, 65 points plus, which would have been enough if it was a total clearance to try and take a 3-0 lead into the fourth frame. Listen, it probably is a little bit more of a frame to lose for Gary Wilson than it was a frame to win in the third frame out there for Judd, but ultimately it still leaves him with a chance. But as I said before the match, I never would have said it's 78% for Trump to win it, and right now I wouldn't even say it's 60% for him. It is going to be about as close to a 50-50 as you can say. And if we're going to see 4-1 of a gap, I do have to say Wilson is going to be a real threat to try and take it into the second round. And it wouldn't be the first time, and unfortunately, it probably wouldn't be the last time where we'll see Trump to be struggling at the Crucible. And don't know the reason. Maybe connected to the performance that he had at the Tour Championship final against Zington, where he was saying he's struggling with his cue badly. You could see that was the case. He couldn't cue a red, or he couldn't cue a colour. He had around 3 or 4 weeks to try and get that thing sorted out. Well, 3 weeks to be fair. And it doesn't seem like he got anywhere near it. If one play against your natural way will be difficult, Trump used to play the swap Buckley. Yeah, but listen, I wouldn't say that he's up against, someone like Mark Selby right now. He's up against Wilson, which tries to play the game the same way that Trump sees it. And I feel like they have played exactly the same style so far. It's just that Trump has managed to do absolutely nothing with it, and Wilson has managed to do pretty much everything that he wanted in terms of, that second frame when he was 47 points down, how many long shots have we seen from Wilson to be attempted, and how many of those have we seen by Trump attempted, where Trump made 0 out of 4 or 5, and Wilson seems like he's made 4 out of 5 or 6 that he attempted. So that was the first thing. Then he comes to positional play, which was the reason why, Trump wasn't able to finish off with, the break of 47 and 64 points. He wasn't able to finish off the frame in a single visit to the table. That he ran himself out of position. Different situations, yes. And you could say that in that third frame, he basically ran out of easy reds, which he was always going to score 60 points from, but just unable to do anything more. And Wilson seems like, he gets himself half a chance, and he'll be able to, if it's a difficult shot, if it's an easy shot, he'll be able to take it with a really good percentage-wise in comparison to Trump. So, it's going to be a very interesting way to see if Wilson can try and keep up this rhythm going for him, because we've seen that against Xu Si, we've seen that against Alan Taylor, where he wasn't happy with himself really, but, ultimately two very different outcomes, as Pullen is about to find himself being snookered on those reds once again in terms of blocks by one of those reds to another. So now, after losing out the previous 2 frames, he's still looking to try and make it down to 2 frames each at the intermission, which is not going to be the best thing, but it's not going to be the worst thing after winning the opening frame of the encounter. and for Wakeling to be needing snooker on the pink and the black. So, yeah, but ultimately, on Chum's point of view, he needs to try. He can't hope on the sort of degradation there from Wilson, because he may come now. He may come in the 14th frame, by which point, Wilson could have a 9-4 of a lead or something. You never quite know, because it's certainly something that is possible. And I say that for a reason, because we've seen that as Pullen misses the red into the corner and leaves Wakeling a wide open of a chance to try and clear up from here. Yeah, I did expect Pullen to be better than this a little bit, to be fair, because as much as he may look like a difficult red, all you have to do is make sure you don't undercut this one. There's not really a way for you in a million years to try and overcut, and yeah, he would have been lined up nicely on the black. Instead, he's about to leave one of the easiest positions that you could dream about as a snooker player for a 3-1 lead. Both Trump and Neil are not interesting to watch anymore, not like back in those days. I mean, what do you say about that? Because I kind of agree with it. Neil was the player that I was mostly feared of as a fan of Ronnie in 2014, 2013. The second was Bingham. Bingham has gone a little bit older, and you can understand why there was a little bit of a shift in momentum. But from Robertson's point of view, it is a little bit weird how he managed to win that Saudi Masters in a really good way. Listen, it's a little bit unfair to be speaking about Robertson before he had his match against Pang Jingsu, but based on this season, I do get what you mean, because he doesn't seem like he plays the percentage game to me. And that's the best way to describe it. He doesn't try and do things that we've seen Trump and Neil Robertson to do and what they've been famous for. And there's a couple of factors why that could be the case. You could say that the tour quality has improved, and you have to acknowledge that, because they have to sort of realize that if they make a mistake and they're going to be reliant on their style of play of take one chance, you take all the risks in the world and you make that to be converted into a frame win. It doesn't work all the time for you, because sometimes you may, miss it by an inch or a mile, but you could still leave it away to your opponent. And then with the tour quality being as high as it is, they may have sort of figured it out that it's not going to be worth for them to be playing the way that they can. And he's going to be down to playing the way that they should, which is fair. But I feel like it's a little bit of a sad part of a snooker there, where you're not going to praise the quality, which is where the other couple of sports are sort of moving there, where you're not really going to see the likes of Messi to try and take on the entire defense of the opponent. You have to play a percentage pass, which will penetrate the defense of your team and make sure you're going to get rid of 2 more players behind the ball. And if that's going to be the same thing with snooker, where you've got a shot which you can take, and you're going to be able to make 7 times out of 10, but there's going to be 3 times when you miss it, and you may leave it at the same time, when it's a little bit sad, because that will naturally downgrade the standard of snooker, because you're not going to have players to be taking so many of those difficult reds on, which means they may not be practicing them as much, which means it's going to be lesser and lesser of those shots that we see them. So it's one of those things where it's really good to see the standard of play on the tour to improve, as it's a bit of a bad shot there for Wakeling. He needs a red and a pink or black for him to be 36 points or 37 points clear on 35 at the table, so it would require Pullen to be needing snookers. But listen, this one into the green pocket is anything but easy. Let's see if he's going to be able to cue this one well. And he wasn't. And he's still put that red towards the right side cushion. Trump, as of now, doesn't deserve the 1 ranked player. And yeah, we'll have to see that one. Youngster Pullen off a chance after Wakeling missed pink, but he's not taking it, struggling. Yeah, listen, I can't really comment on that too much, because I can't just be switching in between the screens and be telling you that I know everything about the second match. But he could be down to the nerves. I feel like Pullen was actually the one out of the 3 which I thought was going to be sort of immune to the nerves, the way that he's played the game. He actually does come across as a player that knows when to take his foot off the gas pedal. Apart from, Kowalski does sort of do that as well, but I feel like Anthony's a little bit different in relation to, he's still going to be overwhelmed by the factor of him taking that tour card. And, Pullen was in there or thereabouts for a couple of events this season. Kowalski hasn't really been there. So we'll have to wait and see on what Anthony's going to be able to do next season, because of course he's out, as is Stan Moody. But yeah, I did expect a little bit more from Pullen so far, but it may come in the second session, you never know. It's a cross double for Wakeland, which finds the target, and that's certainly the way for you to try and be lined up on a frame ball. Is he going to be on the block? The short and sweet of it is no. So I feel like, is he going to be worth to try and play that cue ball in behind the black? It's not really worth to be taking a shot like that into the middle, because you're very unlikely to miss, you're very unlikely to make it. And at the end point, you don't really leave yourself in a better position player in relation to if Pullen was to come back to the table. He's not going to have anything difficult to do. Pullen was very impressive. Yeah, it was brilliant against Chipchaya, against Sangharm, against Sarkosh. I felt like against Sarkosh, I genuinely thought that he wasn't going to be up to the standard, because I thought that there was so much of a difference in play, but Pullen was still able to grind out those results at the end point, because somehow, like at the middle and at the beginning point, it looked like he was playing by far the better, as Wakeland does decide to try and snooker that cue ball behind the black, but he just seemed like he was never going to be, ahead by a couple of frames. And then when he looked like he was 12 frames in, he finally was able to take, his game to a whole new level in relation to finally getting those frames over the finish line. And yeah, that was the reason why he certainly put himself in a really good place. So yeah, let's have a look how the other match is doing, by the way, as I just switch on to backwards to Liam Pullen. So yeah, as I say, Wakeland's just trying to snooker Pullen in behind the red, but looks like he's backfired a little bit, which still probably was the right shot for him to be taking on. But now it's a 30 points of a lead, 35 at the table. The green is positioned perfectly onto the right side cushion for it to be classified as a safe ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see Wakeland to go for every single opportunity of a long shot, because even if he does leave this straight away, it's going to be anything but easy. Ooh, whatever you do, don't make it so much power so that you lose control of the shot, because let's see how close the red is going to be towards the ball cushion, and the answer is really close. So Wakeland gets away with it there. Also put the black out of position slightly, still in the open play, but right now it's going to be closer towards the pink spot than it is going to be towards the natural surroundings of the black ball spot in itself. But yeah, at this stage, if you go back to the table 1, Trum needs to win 2 more frames at least. If he's going to be 6-3 down, I mean, it's not too bad after being 3-1 down in the way that he's played, but listen, I can't really see him coming back from 6-3 down, because he puts it down to, if he loses the 10th frame, that's it. That's match over. 7-3 against Gary Wilson, especially the way that Trum plays this game, especially the way what we've seen in the first session here, and in the Tour Championship to an extent, the second session against Robertson, in the second session against Zington as well. Seems like he's struggling in both of them. But yeah, listen, for now he's got 5 more frames to try and battle it out. Whether he's going to be able to, see sort of all 5 of them, we'll have to wait and see. As Pullen for now plays a horrible shot there. I don't know why he was doing what he's done there, and he basically put that red to be over the yellow pocket. And oh, sorry, that was Liam Pullen. The graphic was a little bit confusing. I thought that was Wakeland that's done it, but now, of course, Chris only needs this rate, and then it's going to be out of the picture to see on who's going to be the winner of frame number 4, and it will be intermission incoming on table number 2 as well. So 3-1 lead for the Englishman was always going to be the case, with us having 4 players from England. But at the end point, it is going to be down to Chris Wakeland and Gary Wilson for now. One of them as a qualifier, one of them as a top seed in relation to the opposition that are going to be taking a 3-1 lead down to frame number 5. Here's the dilemma regarding Ronnie. We all like his dangerous playing style, but that might cost him the A title. He might win in the A title though, because it's a negative way to look at it. The reason why he's a 7-time world champion, and he was the winner of 2001, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2013, 2020, and 2022 is because of his dangerous style. And just because he's not going to be able to do it when he's 50 years of age doesn't mean that he's been playing snooker wrong in the entire thing out there. You could make loads of arguments that he should have won the match against Bruxelles in 2023. You could make a whole bunch of arguments he should have won that match against Bingham in 2024. you could make a whole bunch of arguments that he could have, not would have, but could have won a match against Zhao Xington because he was playing against the amateur. Yes, badly in form, but let's be honest with you, he was playing some horrendous snooker at that day at Ronnie, and Xington was just able to take the chances that were left numerous occasions there. So, you know, if he's not going to be the aggressive player that he is, he would have never beaten Selby in that semi-final of the 2020. He would have never been able to recover from losing so many frames against Trump, because at that point, as much as there would have been so many people cheering for O'Sullivan, there would have been loads of people that wanted to see their smash to go the distance, therefore cheering on Trump as well. And he was able to sort of, yes, he had a good lead at the first two sessions, then he got smashed in the third session, and then he got himself back and managed to get over the line in the fourth session out there. So listen, I feel like it's very boring to be saying it might cost him the 8 title, because if he was playing a little bit safer, he may have won 10 or 11. Well, he could have, or he could have been down with the class of 92, winning 3 titles as Williams, or winning 4 titles at best as John Higgins, had he not been taking those risks and had a really good match against Larry Carter, probably the best that I've personally seen in playing the World Championship final. You know, yes, you could say it was a bit of a walk in the park against Wilson as a number 6. It was a really good match for his point of view against Jump, apart from that third session. And then against Hawkins, listen, you can give Barry all the credit that you want, and he had a really good run up towards that final. But honestly, for me, I was starting to supporting snooker a year after that. But if it was in 2014 and I didn't know the result, honestly speaking, I would never have given Hawkins a chance simply for the head-to-head and the way Hawkins is really good against the lower ranking players. He may bring an upset against the top seeded player, as he's done in the Welsh fantastically well, but I wouldn't really put my money on it, because we've seen that in numerous finals. We've seen that in the UK in 24. We've seen that, as I say, in the World Championship against Ronnie, where he sort of skipped the whole year. He came back and he's managed to play all right snooker. He wasn't as great as Ali Carter, nowhere near it, but in 2012. But anyway, he was still more than enough for him to get over the line. And then you talk about the first one, the most special one in 2001. You talk about the 2004, 2008. Those ones have been before my era, but still, you rewatch them and you realise why his style got him in exactly the position that he is right now. Yes, it cost him the title in 2014, because I'll never forgive him for that pink to be missed into the middle. Personally, that was a little bit of trauma for a couple of years, and he's still with me. The horrible pink that he was missing into the left middle, playing that with so much power. Whether he knew he wanted to play for the black or not, it remains to be seen. And from that point onwards, I'm pretty sure he lost 10, not 10, but 8 out of the remaining 10 frames or something. And it certainly wasn't anything but easy for him. But still, just because you lose one of those finals at the Crucible doesn't mean that you should have played a different style with all the other ones. By the way, we're going to have the players finally to be coming back after the longest intermission possible there, it would seem, of just 15 minutes time. And it is a break-off shot there by Wilson, which wasn't ideal, but it seems like he's managed to get away with this one because of, the red close to the middle not being available. The cue ball to be placed perfectly on the cushion. Trump needs to be taking this red, and he needs to be making that into the corner. He hasn't done so, and he had absolutely no backup option as well, because now the same red is going to go over the middle, and Wilson is going to have a free chance to try and take this frame with a positive start there for himself. Trying to take this red away, make sure he gets himself on the top side of a blue, and something that we have seen from Wilson in the first frame, something that we haven't seen from Jutram just yet. Let's see if we're going to witness it in first frame of the second mini session as well. The ability to try and take a good position and try and turn it into a break of 77 points plus for Gary Wilson. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. For now, 60 has been the highest that we've seen from Chomp's point of view. And it certainly wasn't enough, even at that stage, to win the frame in a single visit to the table. He played that one a little bit too wide, but it seems like he was doing that on purpose because of how well he's actually managed to position himself on black. He was risking to miss a red, but at the end point, he's about to free up the black and get himself into a couple more of easy reds to be taken. So now as he takes a break of 14 points here, he's about to level his fourth highest break of the match if he's able to take another red and black combination. O'Sullivan will find the second round onward stuff, assuming he'll win the first round. Higgins waiting. Yeah, but I would probably say Higgins same. Carter didn't really challenge him too much. Personally, you know, it was a bit of a good run for Carter, but you feel like somehow, even when he was leading 5 frames to 4, I genuinely thought there was no way that Higgins was going to lose that match. So I feel like Higgins, it would have taken a little bit out of the tank for him because, as he was saying in his post-match interview, as by the way, very important shot coming up now for Wilson. He's going to try and play it into the bunch of reds. Wow, if he's not on the red, he's about as unlucky as he can get here because that was played textbook stuff there from Wilson. And he seems like the only red that he can take is going to be a red shot into the right corner. Wow, that is going to be so unfortunate if he misses this one because he needs to try and play for the black as well. He should be able to pot it, but it's the black that I'm going to be sort of a little bit cautious about. But he's played that one absolutely perfectly well. I thought he was going to try and go for the topspin, bounce that cue ball away from the black ball cushion. He's managed to hold the cue ball for the black, and yeah, he's played that shot superbly well. And a fantastic sequence there from Wilson. Once again, trying to do a smart thing and utilize the entirety of the pocket. Yeah, listen, the thing about O'Sullivan is that last thing I want to do is tempt the fate and say it's going to be a breeze. But if I say what I think, then I do think it is going to be a breeze. But with Ronnie, you never quite know which version of him you're going to get. And same thing, unfortunately, with Watchalong, because he's one of those players that could easily get whitewashed, but could easily win against Ronnie O'Sullivan as well. It just depends on which one of those forms we're going to see. There's 4 varieties there, and it could be up to, Watchalong playing the game of his life, O'Sullivan struggling, as we have seen on numerous occasions this season. He could easily be 10-4, 10-3 in favour of the player from China. But on a more realistic point, I would expect Ronnie to play decent form, get to grips with the table. Hopefully he's not going to be messing around with tips and cues, amber, brass, titanium, vibranium or whatever. He's going to have to try and deal with what he has. Clearly played really well at the World Open, just wasn't able to challenge the incredible machine of Chipchaya at that point. He's played well against Higgins and Hendry in the Snooker 900. Yes, different format. Yes, cannot compare it to Crucible, but still, it would have been a little bit of a nice confidence boost for him to win that John Vogel Trophy at the inaugural stage of it as well. And by the way, I mean, Trump is going to be in all sorts of trouble because I genuinely don't know where a good performance is going to be coming from him. Because right now, it just seems like, is he going to win any more than 3 frames here? Because right now, it seems like he's going to struggle to win 3 frames. And I said 6-3 is going to be pretty much match over. For now, it seems like 7-2 is looking like a more realistic outcome. Wilson seems to be flying. He seems to be taking a bad position into a position that is going to make it look really easy for him. And right now, he's got 52 points of a break, which is pretty much anything better than anything that we've seen from Trump already. And remember, that came from a position from nowhere, whereas Trump's break of 60 points was down to, well, easy work really, and all the loose reds available to him. And Wilson is about to equal that now with a break of 60 points. 83 at the table. And yeah, the problem for Trump is that he's going to have to try and redeem himself in the next frame, because right now it's not going to be down to him. So for now, he just has to pray that there is going to be a mistake on this black, because even a mistake on the next red is going to be a little bit too late, with it being a frame ball, and putting Wilson very much in a contention for a 4-1 of a gap, and still making a very much a potential route for a 5-1 of a deficit to be available. I mean, when's the next frame win for Judd coming from? I mean, I said this one, haven't I? Why on earth would you say that it is 120 of a match before it started? And this is why I do have a little bit of a fear in relation to match of Watchalong against Ronnie O'Sullivan there, because as much as it's 2 different heavyweights, it's 2 different divisions there for Wilson and Cher out there, but I still feel like if Cher plays well, if O'Sullivan plays badly, it could still be a very similar performance to this one, because look at this. He's flying through the gears, and he seems like he's not even bothered by what's happening around him. He's 1 frame away. on numerous occasions against Shusi to be eliminated, and I guarantee you, with all the respect to Shusi, he would have been nowhere near the standard of form, especially because it would have been his debut, I'm pretty sure, at the Crucible. Right now, it is going to be a break of 82 points, and the only shot, by the way, that Trumpets played in the entire frame was, the shot after the break-off there from Wilson, trying to take that red into the corner. Right now, it seems like Trump is not going to be anywhere to be seen. Listen, he needs 2 more frames right now, desperately, because at least try and put yourself 4-3 behind. I mean, I can't see him doing that, but he needs to do it. Because right now, I mean, tell me anything that is stopping Gary Wilson in the next frame. The only thing that might stop Wilson is going to be himself. Is that, remember, now is going to be Trump's break-off. So it depends on how well that one goes. Usually, from what we've seen in Sheffield so far, you would have a chance to be taken away. And if I was personal advisor for Wilson, which of course he wouldn't hire me, but still, I would genuinely say, try and wait for a good opportunity, like 75% or an 80% of a chance. If it's going to be one of those shots that Trump just taken, into the corner, seems to have cost him the frame, and seems to have cost him the century break as well, with Wilson still going for a potential for a 1-4-1, although he's about to take the blue, so that's going to be out of the game. And yeah, Wilson, as I say, is just such a different machine there, where you can lose to Si Xiaowei 6-0, or he can easily beat someone like Zhao Xingtong, Judd Trump, or Ronnie O'Sullivan all together, and John Higgins all together in this calendar year. I'm pretty sure in this season, wow, surely he's not taking this red as well. That is absolutely illegal, that from Wilson. I mean, Stephen Hawher is not going to believe that one, because surely you take that red as a double. That red was absolute magic there from Wilson. Surely now we need to see a total clearance. The black is going to disappear. And what a perfect setup this is going to be for a 1-3-9 of a break. Wilson seems like he certainly had something really good for breakfast, because now he's flying through the gears. It's pretty much impossible to stop. And good luck if you're going to be on the train of John, because I genuinely feel for you. We've all been there at some point where you've got the favourite and the highest seed to be struggling against the qualifier. And the last qualifier that you want to be struggling against is going to be Gary Wilson. The qualifiers that I genuinely thought may have made it through the first round were, well, as I say, Fang Jingyi. Then it would have been Ali Carter, potentially against John Higgins, but I knew that it was going to be very difficult. And then Gary Wilson by a country mile. But listen, when I said I expect Wilson to make a game out of it, I thought he's going to be able to stay with Chomp on the first session and then try and do the damage in session number 2 just by staying close to Chomp. I certainly couldn't see this one coming. And now just 2 shots away from making it the break of 199 points. Yeah, good luck with that one. 139 points. And that is going to be 370 points in total. And listen, if you see 153 points to be made by Chomp in 5 frames, well, Gary Wilson's just made 139 points of a break in a single frame encounter. Chomp can't believe it. And I tell you what, Wilson fans probably won't believe the start that we've seen. It is now Gary Wilson that takes it into a 4-1 of a lead. A little bit of a discussion there from the referee towards the players. I'm not sure whether that was to do with the sound or anything else. Or maybe just asking to delay their start to the frame before the players from the other table will be able to return from their respective intermission. But, well, this is going to be super interesting because driving and listening to the match, well, listen, it's one of those things that you have to say to praise Gary Wilson enough there, but 120 has now turned into 190, and I tell you what, it is baffling to me that Wilson is not classified as a favourite at this stage. 4-1, listen, it's only one frame, and then 4-2 doesn't look that bad, but realistically 5-2 is going to look even worse than 4-1 because ultimately it just leaves Wilson with even one less frame for him to try and win. And it's going to be very interesting to be seeing that what's going to happen. And yeah, right now let me just try and refresh the stream because it seems like it's gone down a little bit. Yeah, the problem for Wilson, the problem for Trump is not a problem for Wilson. The problem for Wilson is going to happen if he's going to start to struggle all of a sudden, which we have seen before, but have we seen that with Gary Wilson? Because I'm not too sure about it. And if you talk about the frame number 6, then surely if you are to make a favourite, then it would be down to Gary Wilson to be the favourite right now. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But that's certainly going to be the real threat for me. As Chomp is going to be the one doing the break-off shot. But as I said, for now, I would still say it's a little bit of the advantage there over to Judge Chomp, because he's going to depend massively on which one of those reds, if any, is going to leave away to Wilson, because that could be the easiest way and probably the only way, with all the respect to Judd, to try and get himself a chance. Because for now, it doesn't seem like anywhere near those long reds. And the ones that he was taking, realistically, I mean, majority of them were over the pocket. So, should Jump not win the first frame, he will probably exit first round. 5-1. Yeah, agree. If he loses his frame, he becomes the real underdog here. And you can talk about the second session, but it's not going to be... He's not up against Stan Moody. He's not up against Anthony Kowalski. He's not up against Liam Pullen. He's not up against Watchalong. He's up against Gary Wilson. That's been here. He's a multiple ranking winner. And, yeah, it's unlucky for Chomp for him to draw him, but it's one of those things where you have to try and beat on what's on the other side of you. And, yeah, we're going to see a couple of safety shots there to be played, because Wilson clearly couldn't get through to a red, which actually would have not have really minded for him to take from his fan club's point of view, because I feel like he was, you know, going to see in that cue ball to disappear past the black and get around it. But you can see Potek says 95% to 85 in favour of Wilson. That is absolutely incredible stat there, as he might have played a bit of a bad safety here. 92% of a safety wasn't sat beforehand. He could go down here. Table time 64 plays 36. What can Chomp try and do out of this situation then? Is he going to try and play this red into the right corner? It seems like he will. And he's taking that one well. Let's see if he's going to be on the collar. He wants to be lined up for the blue. He needs that cue ball to keep running. He is going to be on the blue, but he's on the wrong side of it from both of the reasons. Like, he's positioning the cue ball closer to the right middle, and he needs to try and keep that cue ball very much at the right-hand side of the table for the next red. So let's see what he's going to try and do here. Well, he clearly doesn't feel so. He's trying to play for the lowest one of the reds. Doesn't want that cue ball to be dead on the black ball cushion here. Seems to have done all right here, you know. So it's a break of 6 points. But ultimately, every single point will count here for Chomp, because he needs to try and make sure he's going to be the one trying to take this red into the right corner. But ultimately, just playing this one very carefully towards the black, which I'm not sure he can afford to be playing for the blue. He's done that anyway. Whatever he does, he needs to be comfortably on the top side, and he is going to be comfortably on the top side. So for once, it doesn't actually look like his positional play decision has worked out here. And it's going to be a break of 7 points and counting. But once again, it's a lot more difficult of a position that we've seen from Judd in the second and third frames. And ultimately, it is going to come down to just a couple more shots. Is he going to have enough pace on the cue ball? I feel like I know the answer. It's going to be close. It's going to be really, really close for him to see it. I feel like he's just about going to be able to get through to it, but the body language suggests otherwise. Such a rookie mistake, that from Chomp. I mean, that was the easiest part of the task that he had, and he still didn't manage to get on that red. I mean, he's on the top side of a blue. He's got more than enough angle and more than enough cue power to try and make that one work for himself. He's considering to be taking a double here, you know, which is not reckless, but it's not something that you want to be doing when you're 4-1 down. Is he taking this double on? No, he wasn't, but I feel like if I read his mind correctly, he certainly was thinking about it for a while, because that red that he was taking, he probably would have been the only one that he could leave away there. So that's always going to be an advantage there. One visit win will be a big booster for Chomp, yeah, but that's not going to happen. You know, you have to get yourself through to that Kyron Wilson phase of yesterday, where, you know, first of all, he starts off with winning frames by 20 and 30. Oh, that's a horrible shot there if Wilson hasn't covered that red. I mean, Chomp seems like he's walking to the opposite side of the table, which suggests that he's going to be playing a safety shot here, but that was risky there from Wilson. I mean, he's done that in the second frame. He's sort of got away with it at that stage, despite Trump making a break of 47 points out of it. But yeah, it just seems like he's playing those escape shots with way too much power, which I understand you don't want to try and underrun, but for me, when you try and escape from a snooker, underrunning is always better than overrunning it and, making contact with the reds in such a significant fashion that you're going to leave one of them to be available to your opponent. Meanwhile, Wilson is about to try and disrupt those reds slightly. He doesn't want to have them to be cannon too much. Oh, he needed that front jaw badly, because if he didn't catch that one and caught the back end jaw of the middle pocket, well, it was the side cushion, sorry, but he was only a centimeter away from catching the back end jaw, which would have easily put that cue ball towards the left hand side and left a couple of reds to be available there for Trump. Let's have a look at the match pot profile. Pot success 86%, 48 out of 56. Long shot success 50%, 3 out of 6, and rest pot success 0, not available because none of the rest shots were taken. Once again, it's a chance for Trump. It's a long red that usually he seems taken for fun. Always trying to hold the cue ball there, and if he held that one well enough for the black, he should have a really good chance to try and establish himself with another opportunity here. Seems to have done that well, because if he's going to be on the black, yes, he's going to have a bit of a difficult route in relation to the other reds. But right now, he says that it does seem like he's about to try and take the black away, get himself positioned for those reds, even though the cue ball is going to be closer to the side cushion. He's going to have a pretty straight shot now to be taken. And listen, he's about to go for another red. I thought he could get through to a straight shot red. He can't. So he needs to be taking the one next to the black. He's done that. So this time around, he's going to be back in prime position here for that black situation. So match score profile, 30 plus breaks, 2. Total points 174, highest break 60, average break 26.8, 0 centuries out there as well. Well, listen, he's got himself a chance, which is probably going to be equally as good as the one in the third frame. I don't think so that Trump will beat Wilson. Well, I've heard that and I've seen that from you, but doesn't mean that will happen. The requirement for that is going to have to be winning this frame, and he's overrun for the black massively there. I mean, it's two options right now. He can either try and hold that cue ball into those reds. I feel like he's not really going to be able to force himself with enough of a distance. The problem for Trump right now is that he needs to try and hold that cue ball for those reds without using the around the globe shot, because I can guarantee you that will go wrong. So he's taking the black pretty well, and he still leaves himself with a chance to try and take this shred away. But these are some real testers there for Trump, and so far he's managed to complete every single one of those little quizzes for him, and about to take another one really nicely. Just seems like he's lacking a little bit of that final piece of just being perfectly lined up for the black, because it seems like he's going to be a little bit too straight again. If he's got the angle here, he can easily try and get around those reds, and he probably wins, the frame with this visit. Right now, he has to try and go the long way around, which was always going to be the harder escape. Trying to do that with topspin. Getting himself 44 points of the advantage, and still not having an easy red to be taken now. But I am surprised, positively surprised, that so far we haven't seen any of those mistakes in this frame to go so far. And we're about to have another great shot there taken nicely by Judd. Getting himself through to 45 points of an advantage, and still, despite all the reds that he's played and playing them really well, he seems like he's always one step too far in relation to the position on the colours. Probably about to take the blue into the right corner. But he seems like he's changing the difficulty slowly, but just making it easier and easier for himself. As long as he doesn't have to play this shot with too much power, the blue should disappear into the corner, and he has done. So now the break of 38 points here for Judd. And he's just about to have a red to be taken here into the left part of the table. So just make sure you're not going to be inventing anything out there. Just carefully try and, take that red away. Make sure you're going to be for the colour. And, well, carrying the pink out of the game certainly wasn't on his plan, it would seem. And he still has to take the blue into the yellow pocket. It's not quite as easy, I would say, for the shot to the one that he's taken to the right corner, because this time he needs to actually get a little bit of action on the cue ball, which makes it a very specific pace. And yeah, could see that one coming. Unfortunately, where's the blue going to finish? Surely he's not going to fluke it. Wow, that was close. And in the end, I mean, has he left anything for Wilson here? You know, I did always expect one frame visit win of a frame was always going to be way too simple there for Judd. You know, he just needs to have one of those frames where he grinds it out there till the end. And once again, it seems like he loves to be leaving 83 points available there to Wilson. He's done that in frame number 2. He's done that in frame number 3. And he's done that in frame number 6 as well. Can Wilson try and take this shred away? The answer is no. That he's going to stay out. Where's the cue ball going to finish? He played that one pretty wisely, to be fair, Wilson, because he was leaving the cue ball for the bow colours. And I'm not sure if Chomp can get through to the red, closer to the left corner, but it seems like he might have actually played a decent safety shot here, Wilson. Where's frame time? Don't know. You tell me. If he's about to take another red towards the main part of the table here, then, it's a bit of a bad shot there from Chom. He doesn't want to give away a free ball. The cue ball is going to be close to the brown. Surely he's not going to give away a free ball out there. It was close, but it seems like it's not really going to be too uncomfortable there for Judd, and I'll probably expect the cue ball, you know, to stay what it is, and Wilson just to ask Chom to be taking it from this position. Can you put frame time up? Says 23 minutes. Nope. Because, well, I don't really have anywhere to do it, but also you need to do it automatically so that you launch it. I may try and do that with timer for the next year, but certainly not now. And, yeah, it's going to be down to Chom just trying to get really thin on the edge for the right-hand side out there. Then it's going to be down to just make sure you don't get that red to be in too much of the action. And carefully trying to take the red towards the left-hand side. And it seems to have done that pretty well there, Judd. And yeah, he's still about to be positioned. I don't know why 4 points towards Wilson haven't counted. There you go. 47 points behind, 83 at the table. So he's got more than enough points that he needs. But what's he going to be down to in relation to? Is Wilson going to get another chance? Because so far, quite different to what we've seen in the previous frames. It's only been Trump that he's been getting the chances. And that's a really fortunate kiss there on the yellow. Someone in the audience was ready to clap for it, but can't really acknowledge any great, you know, positional awareness there behind that shot from Wilson. Could have easily left that red had that not been a contact on the yellow, but now Trump finds himself in a pretty difficult position, only seeing the reds on the left-hand side of the table. But once again, as he was with, you know, the 47 points of an advantage, as it is right now, by the way, he was 47 points to nil in the frame number 2 for Trump. He's had way too many, you know, problem points for Wilson to try and stumble across. Right now, it's going to be down to one of those reds to be perfectly on the side cushion, which is the biggest problem. Then is going to be the pink, out of position and close to the left side as well. And then you feel like, apart from that, all of the reds and colours should be, well, quite easy for you to take control of. Apart from, of course, the blue needs to be taken away from the left corner because it is blocking the entire pocket. And meanwhile, shot time for Chomp is about to reach 1 minute. Is he going to go for this red into the corner? Ooh, he's trying to find himself an alternative route of not leaving anything. I mean, the applause, once again, a little bit premature there because I can't see it now. He may have actually got that one right. No, they haven't. It's a bad shot then. The good shot for Chomp would have been to cover up that red by the right corner. He hasn't done that. And now Wilson, has he still got the momentum from the previous couple of frames? They got him the break of 139 points. They can potentially try and make it another steal of a frame. Oh, he needs that cue ball to keep running. He needs it to keep running a little bit more because he's not going to be on the black. He's not going to be on the pink. Is he going to be on the blue next to that left corner? He won't be. As you can see, the red is just about going to be in the way. So what do you do here? Do you take the yellow on, which you probably should do? Or do you try and play this one safe? Now, he's thinking about a safety play, which, fair play, I'm surprised there. Once again, Wilson doesn't really come across as a player that would do that, but I suppose the scoreline of 4 frames to 1 does help on that. And also he realises that if he is to miss any one of those shots, then the position is certainly going to be in huge favour of Chomp, but rather than being in his favour as well. So, yeah, Wilson is now having a look at the yellow once again. I mean, the problem is, for you to play a good safety shot, you need to put Trump in trouble. And I feel like he's going to have 1, 2 reds next to the left and right side cushions. So feel like he should be able to escape from it. So personally, I would say try and go for the shot on the yellow and try and pot it. But then, of course, if he misses it, then I'll be the first one to sort of say that it was the wrong shot to play. And yep, that's exactly what happened. He got a little bit fortunate there in relation to the cue ball positioning, as he caught the brown, and he's now going to be right underneath the green. So it still doesn't matter in relation to the points. 75 at the table, 46 is the difference, but Trump needs to get the first chance in. And it seems like he's going to go for that red with an extended pocket on the blue. It's difficult to miss that one. And he's not going to need the blue. It's a brilliant shot there by Judd. And he's about to surely take this frame from here because, listen, I was always going to say you can't simply go back from losing so many frames on a bounce, 4 out of 5 out there, and for you to expect to be making a century break or even a maximum or something. Trump was always going to have a break of something like 40 or 39 points like he's managed to achieve at the early stage of a frame, and now he's about to just finish the job off and make sure he's going to be able to try and take the momentum in this frame into the frame number 7 as well. Because we certainly have seen a drop-off from Wilson in this particular frame, and you can see pot success has improved massively from 85 I should say, up to 88 and counting. And 95 formidable stat there for Wilson has dropped down to 93. And you can't really make a case that it was an easy situation there for Trump. It is now, but the damage to Wilson was clearly done in the opening visit to the table there for Trump. And listen, if he's going to be able to get himself down to 4-5 of a loss in the first session, then it's going to be a hell of a comeback this, because he'll certainly put him as the favourite for the second session. And right now, he's still probably just about there in the mix, 4-2 down. But it was very important for him to try and turn this particular frame around, because now you can see he's queuing quite well on, the shots that you wouldn't necessarily expect him to be playing with so much ease on the previous couple of frames. And a break of 50 plus points is still going to be very much a nice addition to the scoring board here. Make sure he's going to be something around 100 points down there to Gary Wilson, as he had a really comfortable frame win right now, making it the break of 30 points, which, as I said previously, will make it down to the list of top 4 breaks for him. And, well, the red is going to stay out, but that was always going to be one shot too many for him to be taking, although he might have fluked that one, no, he hasn't. So it is going to be a break of 30 points, which does earn Judd Trump the frame, and make sure that it's now going to be Judd Trump 2, Gary Wilson 4, as we approach frame number 7. And all of a sudden, it felt like there is going to be a little bit of a different feeling about the 7th frame, because you probably have to say Trump is the one that he's going to be looking at a potential chance to try and take this frame away from Gary. It's going to be difficult to sort of say it's definitely easy for you to predict the winner, but I feel like for once, that wasn't really the case in frame number 4, but for once I genuinely feel Trump is going to be the favourite to win the frame, which is a good start. Now he needs to make sure he develops on that start and makes it into something greater, something bigger, and ideally for himself. And the most importantly, the scoreline is going to get a little bit closer in his favour, and make sure that break of 30 and 39 points was just the starter for him. And he's about to take that into a little bit more of a fluent break. He had one miss, which was a really difficult red that he was taking. Then Wilson had his own chance, which didn't really go to plan on numerous occasions, and then Trump was able to go with a really good long shot, by the way. Yes, mentally, he always knew that there was a blue to try and extend that pocket, but in the end, the factor of him never needing that particular extension certainly helped on the factor of making that break of 30 points count and leaving Gary Wilson in his seat. So, 234 points scored by Judd Trump, 375 by Gary Wilson, where his 2 highest breaks of 77 and 139 will pretty much add up to 234 points that Trump has scored in the previous 6 frames. Now then, once again, it is a bit of a different story, where it's Wilson that is taking the break-off shot. On the previous time of asking, Trump clearly tried to go for something very risky at that stage. And well, lost out on an opportunity to be given away to Wilson. Let's see if the story will repeat itself. Or is it going to be a different outcome of both the break-off shot and, if Trump does go for a long shot attempt, which I can tell you now, I'm pretty sure he will do. It's not quite as good as, not quite as difficult as it was in the previous frame, where the break-off from Wilson was there. But now, Wilson is going to be feeling it a little bit if Trump gets this red in, which he hasn't. So now, Trump is the one that needs that cue ball to keep running all the way to the top end of the table. It hasn't worked out. And, Wilson does need this red to go in. It's a real battle here for this frame because it's super important to see the way that we're going to finish this session. Is it going to be Wilson? Is it going to be Trump? He's trying to take the pace away from it. And is that going to work out? It seems like it worked out absolutely beautifully there for Wilson. And he's about to get himself a break of a single point. But ultimately, he gets the position on the black. And it's not the easiest shot in the world. But he doesn't need too much of a change to be made here. He does need to avoid a push shot though. So let's see if he's going to be able to just try and position that cue ball nicely for the red. He's done that just about well enough, but still, the position is going to be similar to the one that we've seen from Trump's point of view. As you can see, pot success 110 out of 118 shots that he's taken. Long pot success 71% of 5 out of 7. Rest pot success 7 out of 7 as well. So it doesn't seem like it's too bad for Wilson. And just because I said Trump managed to have a decent frame win in frame number 7 doesn't really mean that he'll be able to sort of continue this trend until the end point. For now, it's going to be a really good chance for Wilson to try and make an early progression to this frame. I wouldn't go as far as he can easily win it here, but certainly going to be in the back of his mind as he's got 2 more loose reds to try and take it away. And then it's going to be down to the position on probably the blue. He may try and do it right now, to be fair, because he's going to be on the top side of a blue. Probably a little bit too close to it to try and accelerate the white. And a little shake of the head as if to suggest that it is going to be. Oh, yes, that's going to be certainly loads of power behind this shot. The reds can go anywhere, and in the end, it doesn't seem like they've gone anywhere at all. The pink, he's played that shot pretty well, to be fair. I can't really blame that on Wilson because, it's one of them where you never quite know if pink is going to give that power away to those reds or he's going to absorb it. And this time around, he absorbed it like a sponge. And now it's 20 points and a safety there, it would seem, for Wilson. But it's still a nice starting point. And, Trump had a break of 39 and 30 points for him to be lined up with something like 84 points at the end to win the frame pretty comfortably. So if Wilson is to do that in a couple of attempts, he's still going to be in there with a decent shout. Oh, he doesn't want to catch the brown. Is he going to fluke this one away? He nearly has. Wow, that was close to fluking a red. And now this is going to be a chance here for Trump. The break of 20 points. I don't know what on earth Wilson was doing there. He needed to make sure that red was nowhere near the brown. I mean, he nearly fluked an absolute wonder of a shot there off the brown. And you can see, I wonder how that hasn't actually dropped, It's just run out of pace. And red stayed out over the pocket. So what's it going to be here for Trump? Because it's still not a gimmick at all. He's trying to put all that power into the shot. But listen, it wasn't something that I would have approved before that shot was taken because it is a hidden hope. And usually it never works out in your favour. So, it's down to Trump now to make a decision. Does he go for the green into the middle? The answer is no, because he can't do anything with it. It's way too straight on this one, and unless he tries to power that green hole, which he'll never be able to sort of pot, even in that case, I'm not sure he's going to be able to get on the red. So it's just down to try and get in behind, or just, sort of play a safety shot with the brown. So he clearly had a bit of a look towards the position. So 19 points right now, and a minor advantage in favour of Trump in terms of safety play. But yeah, it was a good contact point. To be fair, he caught the pink a little bit towards the side, but it's a lot for you to ask to try and catch the pink pretty much full ball out there. So Wilson, I feel like he's just confirming to the referee that he can see this red, so that if it was to be a respot, then just make sure the cue ball is going to be placed to the fashion where you can see this red. See, it's going to be close. It's a very tight line, that is. And he seems to have played that one absolutely superbly well. Doesn't want the green to be cannoned on the way, but all he's going to do is give a little bit of breathing space towards Trump to try and make the most out of this particular escape of a safety there. Because as much as he can see pretty much every single one of those reds, he can't really take them with the attacking fashion. And just try and carefully play that red away, although he got too much of it. And now he needs that cue ball to keep rolling in behind the yellow. Ooh, we got a little bit of a touch in the end. And that touch could well be the difference between a fantastic safety shot and now a chance to be taking this red away. Sorry for my silence. I was a meeting. I thought you were just not enjoying the performance of Chomp at all. But now, listen, he had a decent 6 frame. But it seemed like he's gone a little bit backwards here again for him. Although Wilson, for once, wasn't actually able to, make that break work for him. Watching the pulling live on cable is so boring and it's one way for way. Yeah, but I kind of got the impression of that. Listen, for that to be entertaining, you needed to see Pullen run away with it. Wakelin is going to have it. Oh, that's a badly cued shot there from Wilson. Let's see if he's going to have anything to be given away to Trump. The short and sweet of it seems like it's no, is the answer. It sounds like Wilson is shot. Well, I wouldn't say, either of them playing well, because Wilson just played a bit of a bad shot, but I still don't believe why and can't understand why Trump was trying to take that red away, which was in the corner of the green pocket. I don't really understand why he was trying to do anything with it. Oh my god, surely he hasn't caught. I mean, he is pretty much making a bit of a heart attack for his fans there, because I don't know why. He's trying to make contact with the bunch of reds from the right-hand side of him, aiming the cue ball exactly into the danger zone where the red is on the right side cushion, nearly cannon that one towards the green pocket, which, brings a perfect starter there for Wilson. In the end, just about able to get around it. So, listen, this one is not boring, but I wouldn't say that it's full of quality as well. And if you are going to say this full of quality, then it's going to be down to Wilson, with all the respect to Trump. Way too average there for his standard. But once again, the fact that he's managed to win 2 out of 6 frames is a decent starting point. If he's going to be able to do that 3 out of 7, it's going to be a fantastic starting point already. And then 2 more frames for him to, incredibly, at that stage, to try and win it in the first session, which will be absolutely beyond belief. For now, let's see what Wilson is going to try and do. And just carefully trying to take one of those reds away. And he wants that cue ball to be pretty tight to the ball cushion, which he hasn't managed to receive. So maybe that was the plan for Chomp all along, because may have been just too stupid to realise it. He would have actually realised that the cue ball is going to be positioned way too close to the ball cushion in his previous shot, which means Wilson can't do anything with this red, which Chomp right now, he's going to be able to take down the lower end of the table. So it was a really good 3-shot move there by Chomp. Although he could have got that cue ball slightly closer towards the brown for it to be a potential nightmare for Wilson. Always black and purple patches for players in long matches. The runner will be the one making less mistakes and stringer mentality. Yeah, I would agree with that, but also I feel like the scoreline is going to be very much there to dictate the run of play. For now, it's not quite there, but I feel like, you have to be taking the scoreline of the overall match. 4-2, it's probably quite level when you talk about Chomp being the world number 1, Wilson being the world number 25, but, he is the favourite for this frame. Ooh, is that a plant that we're looking at? Into the corner. Wilson had one of those that could not have been missed. Listen, this one is more difficult. There's more distance in between those reds, and also the angle of the cue ball in relation to those reds is not nice. So Chomp is just having to make sure he gives it the fine correction. Listen, that correction can always overcorrect it or something, but I'm not going to make predictions on this one. The cue ball is way too close for me towards the ball cushion, but ultimately it is the angle which you can see the shot to work out from. It's good. It's a fantastic shot there by Chomp. It is absolutely outstanding there from Chomp. And now, surely, that is going to be the shot which potentially gets him into the driver's seat, at least of this frame. Just wait on for a couple of more shots just to make sure that adrenaline is not going to get the better of him. Played a bit of a bad shot here. Under on for all 3 reds. Well, for all two reds, he's overrun for the one closest to the middle, but he should be able to recover from this one by just carefully taking the red into the right corner. So yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. Let's just see on what's going to happen at this break. It's a good shot there. Needs to be on the top side of a blue though. Just about. It's either straight or it's top, so it should be alright there just to try and play through for the red next to the pink. But once again, one thing I will say, he's not making it easy for himself. Even after the easy shots that he plays, it just seems like he's always going to be that inch, millimetre or centimetre or a metre behind the position where he would have liked that cue ball to be. And this position is still far from over in relation to all these reds to be in a bunched up position. And he's now forcing himself to go for those reds. And yep, unfortunately, he's taken a good red there, but he's completely lost the cue ball. And yeah, it's a break of 15 points after such a good introduction of a shot on red head. It has brought him absolutely nothing. I don't really understand what's happened there. Maybe he was trying to make contact with a bunch of reds, which I would have not recommended to do anyway, because it could have easily put the cue ball out of position for the black. But now he needs to make sure he gets a good safety out of it. It's about as much as he can do. And he's still going to be a 50-50 of a frame there. Probably way too late to say that it's going to be the world number 1 against the world number 25, because, you know, we've seen what Trump can do out of a good chance. Scored only 15 points out of it, despite having, you know, such an easy second, third and fourth shots out there, and then just messed up a little bit. So let's see, he's called the brown ball here, which is interesting. Ooh. Wow. That was way too close for comfort. But in the end, it seems like I got a good result for it, but I can't tell you, I can't put into words how he was close to the blue, and you can see Wilson smiling about it. You can see that he absolutely knows that he was a millimetre away from the yellow. That was anything but comfortable. One good long shot will be a big for Trump, but he's not scoring big so far. Let's have a look how close this was. He was close to the blue. Wow. That is about as close as he can get to the yellow. That is incredibly close. Let's see what Wilson can do. As I say, he's been overhitting those so far. Ooh, he got the wrong side of a pack to me. And has he left the red into the middle? I don't know. Only time will tell. But it seems like he's either played a fantastic shot there, or he's left a really good chance away to Trump. Seems like he's not really working with too much pace, and Wilson is sitting there as if he's ready to go again. So, yeah, I mean, there is a red underneath the cue ball, which potentially, by the maths rule book, can be cut into the corner, but surely not going to be taking a red like that away. Although there is a plant, which we may be looking at. Is that what Trump is doing? He's trying to take a plant into the corner? Well, he has, and he's missed it. And he's not going to give a better chance like that away to Gary Wilson. Listen, he was clearly impatient out there. And right now, it is going to be down to Wilson to try and make the end of the suffering here for Judd. Because right now, 4 points is the advantage. Well, listen, it could have been a little bit more than that, but ultimately it is just looking at the options that Wilson has got. You know, the blue is going to be available into the left middle. The pink is slightly covered up, and the black is now covered up as well. So, yeah, it just seems like one shot too many there for Trump to be taking. And right now he finds himself in loads of trouble. So Wilson will have to just try and make sure he digs himself out of this trouble here and tries to play the blue carefully, staying on all the easy reds, which is going to be plenty of. He doesn't need to do anything, just make sure he doesn't run out of position on the colours. And yeah, he's not happy with himself, Trump, as you can see on the replay, but I would have been surprised if he was happy with himself, being on the verge of being 2-5 down. And listen, as I say, I've said that after the 6th frame. I thought he might actually bring his decent game in the 6th frame, in the 7th frame there, but he hasn't. And now it is down to Wilson to try and make full advantage of this one. You know, he finds himself with being 16 points away from the Jock Trump, and ultimately 75 at the table. He can pretty much take every single one of those reds away without further complications, apart from maybe the red right next to the black, but he won't need that one at the stage where he's going to be more than 35 points clear. So yeah, just make sure you stay on the blue. As soon as you can, try and get the pink to be available for yourself, which will be a nice bonus as well. But it seems like he was playing for another red here, which he decides not to be taking the red next to the right corner, which is understandable because that's going to be a little bit difficult for you to try and play for the blue. But once again, one thing which creates another thing there for Wilson, because right now he's going to be on the wrong side of the blue. And as much as I mentioned, there is a red over the right corner pocket. The reason why he didn't want to take that one away is that he will find himself in a position of a really difficult positional play shot to be played. You know, it's just one of them things where you have to try and cut the angle to actually produce one towards the red so that you bounce that cue ball massively up the right side and position yourself for the blue or for the bold colors. He's gone for another option. So he's tried to minimize the angle completely, which I have to say is a little bit of a weird one to me, because it's almost like he's playing for the pink into the middle, but that way he needs to play that one really accurately with the position of the white. So let's see. No, he's playing for the blue. He's not playing for the blue here in terms of the power. He's playing for the yellow, and he doesn't want to be straight in this one. Well, yeah, I feel like that previous shot on the red that he's taken, that got him on the wrong side of a blue, just created a bit of a problem out of nothing. So now it's a rest shot, which, you know, as I say, it's a problem out of nothing, but you still would expect him to win the frame. But he seems like he's just causing himself an unwanted issue there as he uses the brown to get that yellow in. Not sure whether that was part of his plan or not, but certainly no hand of apology. He needs 2 more reds, and then he should be on his way to be winning this frame. But once again, this one is a bit of a reach, which he needs to try and outperform himself with. And just carefully position that cue ball on the right side this time of the blue. Otherwise, he'll be finding himself in the world of trouble, unless, of course, he can get through to the pink. Because if he can't do that, it may still be a really difficult shot on the blue here for him to try and perform. It seemed like he was a little bit out of touch there for Wilson, but it feels like he can take the pink, or can he? I had a look at it twice. Yeah, the problem with taking the blue, I can't really see on what's availability on that red is going to be, whether he can take it into the corner or not. It's going to be down to trying to take that cue ball on the journey around the table. And it looks good, but is he going to be good enough in relation to, is he going to be right on top of that red? Or is he going to be perfectly positioned for the corner? And it seems like he got a little bit too close to that red. So, 53 points, play 16. It is still massive advantage to Wilson, but it's not quite game over in relation to this particular frame. Let's see which safety shot he's going to be able to try and perform here, because the green is out of position, the brown is out of position, but he's still playable. But yeah, the bold color sequence is going to be difficult there, apart from, of course, the red, which is going to be right next to the black. So let's just see what the cue ball's perspective is going to be, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good to me. And yeah, that's going to put a little bit more pressure on Trump on top of the pressure that he already has next to his name. And yeah, Wilson is going to be enjoying his time in the seat because, you know, Trump needs to hit this one. If he hits the black, he needs snookers. With the reason why I say he needs to avoid to try and hit the black is that because one of those reds, which I feel like is the easiest one to hit, is going to be right next to the black. But look at that for a hit. So thin, so good on the edge. And the cue ball is going to be still just about beyond the bulk line. So is that going to be all down for nothing? It was a fantastic shot there for Trump. But it's only one red there, which Wilson needs. And then he will getting himself through to this frame to be won there. And it's a fantastic shot once again there from Gary Wilson. And it's now a point, which will feel like a frame win there, because now 38 points of a difference. It was a fantastic shot there by Trump, but it was a response with even better of a shot from Wilson's point of view. And now it's going to be 38 of the advantage, 35 at the table, as we go on towards a potential of 2 more frames to be seen there. Let's see if Wilson is going to be able to get a snooker lined up on Trump. Seems like he has done that with the help of the blue. So, of course, Trump, he's going to try and carry on here because one snooker is nothing in relation to, you know, what he could have been. But, well, the fact that he's swerving around the blue is going to be risky. And he got the contact on the red. He got the cue ball to be pretty far away. But he needs that blue to come to his rescue here. And I'm pretty sure the cue ball was run a little bit too far. No, he hasn't. So the blue is going to come to his rescue. So Wilson, of course, can't take any chances here. He just needs to carefully take contact with the red. And make sure that he's not going to be getting around it. Right, so what do you do here if you're Trump? Do you try and use this red away? Or you try and take a shot red with the black? And then just try and do it on the last of the 6 colors. Oh, that was anything but comfortable once again there for Trump. And he manages to put the red closer to the green. But the cue ball nearly dropped itself towards the right middle. And now it is going to be down to Wilson to try and make something with those reds. And ideally put the distance in between the cue ball and the target red here without bringing the green into the play. Which, it's one of those fine margins where you don't want to leave a red away to Trump. But I would say you probably are better to leave a red away than to put the green into the open space. Because if you put the green in the open space, all of a sudden it's right next to the yellow. And it may change the complexity of the frame there for Trump potentially even having that red to be worth of potting with the black and then trying to do a snooker on the green and the yellow. So then once again, it's a decent shot there, played by Gary Wilson, and manages to separate the reds and the cue ball pretty far away from each other. So now 38 points is still going to be the difference, and right now Trump is just having a look to see if he's going to have a chance to try and bring the green into the play of his own. Seems like he's done that pretty well. Just needs that red to go onto the right side cushion, and he's done that. Do you think Trump is slow? No, I don't think Trump is slow. I think he's struggling. The fact that he's slow is going to be very much down to the fact of him having to play the defensive shots here. First, because he wants to try and keep that red safe desperately. And he needs to try. Oh, it's a really nice shot there from Wilson. I'm not sure if Trump is going to be able to get through past the pink and the black there, but it's a fantastic shot there. Played really well by Wilson, and he may still get him the outcome that he's looking for. So is he going to be able to find the edge? He has. Now, where's that cue ball going to finish? You need to slow down to try and use the blue as the cover. Hasn't done that, but yeah, with all the shots that Trump plays right now, you just feel like, where were these shots when he needed them before he needed a snooker there? Because listen, he's managed to play a really good safety shot out of a snooker escape, but Gary still managed to drop the red into the right corner. So right now, it will be down to just probably being happy of the fact of him only having one snooker there to play, but it is going to be a very fortunate there shot from Gary Wilson, and you feel like a hidden hope surely is incoming there. And Trump is slowing down. No, he's not trying to slow him down. He's trying to get himself up to speed. The last thing that he needs to worry about is trying to slow Gary Wilson down. He's played another decent shot away, but this time around, because of the way that he had to be aiming that cue ball, he's probably still left this red potentially away to Wilson. So just try and take this one into the corner, because even if you sort of leave it over the corner pocket, I mean, as much as you don't want to do it, I don't feel like it's going to create a massive advantage over the Trump, because, he doesn't need a free ball. He doesn't need any more than the sort of one snooker there for him to try and find. And the red is going to stay out on the table. And let's see where the cue ball is going to stay. Surely he's not going to stay behind the black. Wow. I mean, if he's able to at least see a little bit of this red, then he'll be happy. But the word happy is not really the one that you want to associate with Trump right now, because he's absolutely fuming, and so he should be. I mean, it's about 4 shots there that Wilson has played, and he's missed the target point for him, and he still manages to get the perfect outcome for him. Trump doesn't want to have too much of a contact with the green. It seems like he got a decent snooker in relation to, probably blocked off the axis by the left side cushion, although Wilson seems like he's about to prove me wrong on that one. May even try and swerve around it, but he needs to be careful with those type of shots. And he's played that one really well, but at least this time around, Trump is not going to be snookered, which is already his advantage that you take. Although he doesn't want to see the red to be too close to the ball cushion here. So now just having a look towards the way that he wants to try and hit this red, to bounce it away from the cue ball. He's not really going to be able to try and do anything in relation to the yellow here with the cue ball, so just has to try and play the good shot to the extent that he can and get himself out of the danger zone here. As by the way, Chris Wakelin is about to take a 4-2 lead against Liam Pullen. It was a risky shot there, and he needs that blue to come to his help. And so far, he hasn't done that so far in this frame and in this match, really. And yeah, Wilson can see this red. I'm not sure if he can see it to try and take an attacking shot with it. I'd probably say yes rather than no. But he's still going to have to bridge over the green, which makes this slightly awkward there for him. But why do I feel like he's still going to have a, at least one of those shots to try and challenge himself from? As now, once again, Trumpy's going to have a limited, but at least visibility of this red to try and get this one in. Now, well, he's not trying to slow him down because there's no reason for him to slow this one down. Because if he's going to try and slow this game down, then he's going to just keep leaving the chances for Gary Wilson, which we've seen with his long shot game is going to be the most dangerous thing where you can do. The thing that Trump is trying to achieve right now is to get the cue ball to be listening to him perfectly well. And he was close that time, but it's not quite close enough there so that he can get the snooker in. And then he's going to be all down to just, making a total clearance with it as well. For now, Wilson trying to... Well, he is risking it a little bit there, Wilson, but I suppose with him having such a good run of the ball, he may as well be taking a risk with it. So now, this is the decision for Trump. Does he go for this red with a black and try and make it with the yellow? Is there going to be a point in doing that? He's going slightly backspin, which makes me feel like he'll try and pot the red. So once again, I mean, I can see what he's doing because he eliminates the potential risk of not having the red and a black combination to him. But, I mean, what does he do with that yellow? He's clearly going to try and work around the yellow and green right now. But he needs a powerless shot here in relation to try and bring that cue ball as close as he possibly can towards the yellow here. So let's see what's it going to be here. 30 points behind 27 at the table. You do feel like we're going to be at the end game of this frame. And has he managed to get what he wanted? I feel like he hasn't really. I mean, it's either a fantastic snooker or it's a really easy one for escape. And the little shake of the head there from Wilson may actually suggest that it may be the more difficult version for him. So, let's see what's he going to be then. 30 points as the advantage for Wilson, but it's not quite frame over for him because, I mean, listen, if he tries to take this one around the globe, the yellow is slightly lower than the green, which boosts his chances. Let's see. The line is good. The line is really good. Is he going to reach the target? Oh, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect there from Wilson. But has he left another chance away for Judd Trump to try and get that cue ball in behind the green and just basically hammer that yellow out of danger zone? Because I'll tell you what, to me, there is a potential for that. And it could be probably more difficult if he gets really nicely behind of that green. But let's see. Nope. Well, it's decent. It's not what I meant. But it's still decent outcome because the cue ball is going to block off the most important cushion. The cushion that the yellow is going to be closer to. It's going to be quite far away from the left side where Wilson has to try and hit first. So, yeah, you feel like though, this time around, if he hits the yellow, it's going to be far away from the green. So he will leave a chance away. And has he missed it? Yes, he has missed it. Wow. This could be, once again, an incredible steal from Judd Trump. We've seen that from Wilson against Stan Moody. And could this be the time for Judd Trump to try and deliver the performance that showcases why he is the world number one? And that is going to send the crowd and, well, absolutely mad. Me included. He still has got 6 colours on his way. And he's gone for the yellow, and he's got the yellow in. Wow, this could be an absolute dream comeback for Judd Trump, but it's not over yet. He's got the green, he's got the brown in a problem position for him, and then it is going to be down to the blue, the pink, and the black. Well, 24 points behind. This is going to be way too close for comfort now for Wilson, and he only has himself to blame for that. But Trump just seems like he's taking a little bit too much time on the shot for it to be easy. So then, what can he do with the green? to try and get that cue ball closer to the brown. Has he overplayed it? He just wants to try and get around it. Or is he going to be perfect? Or is he going to be a little bit too far? That shot on the yellow, by the way. But let's overanalyze that one later. Let's see what's he going to be with the brown. Yeah, he seems like he's going to try and play this one around the globe for the blue. He needed to hammer that brown in. Let's see the positional shot on the blue. Once again, he's not going to be perfect at all. I mean, he's just about on the wrong side of this one. So what do you do here? Wow, what a nervy ending to this frame number 7. Surely the most important frame of them all. You have to play this shot with backspin and you trust yourself to try and take this pink away. It is not nice. We've seen those missed. We've seen that pink, which was very important for him in the match against Watchalong in the semi-final of the World Open. Is it going to be the story to be written now for Trump? He gets the pink in. Where's the shot on the black is going to be? Well, he's just about on the black, but it's not comfortable. It's anything but comfortable. So, the black, you feel like, to try and turn the entire match around. You felt like that. Ooh, that is so nasty for you to be taking as a frame ball. And to me, he's missed it. Wow, he got that one in. Sorry, I apologise for everyone that I said I've missed it. That was absolutely incredible from Judd Trump. And that is why this guy is the world number 1. I cannot believe what I've just seen. But it is Judd Trump 3, Gary Wilson 4. And that was a comeback and a half. Forget about a comeback and a half. That was 2 comebacks and a half. Absolutely brilliant from Trump. And let's see if this frame is going to be the final one. Because I tell you what, it's not going to get any more drama than this. Big steal, incredible steal there. Forget about Stan Moody's situation. This is proper snooker. This is why this sport can never be written off. And this is why potentially it should be in the Olympics as well. Because you feel like you've done it all. And then that fantastic 6-color clearance, by the way. Let's just analyze it now that it's over. That yellow to be taken into the green pocket. That green to be taken into the yellow pocket with so much power to get on the brown. He's overplayed for that one. So had to be taking that cue ball around the table for the blue. And he still got on the wrong side of the blue somehow. Had to be playing that shot with backspin. You know, a lot of distance in between the pink and the cue ball. Seen those missed. And that ultimately was the reason why he was so short on the black. But look at that black that he's taken. That was absolutely outstanding. The yellow, the green, the brown, the blue. Well, the blue was simple, but the pink and the black. He may be the greatest 6-color clearance that I've seen, certainly this season. Because, wow, that is brilliant. That is why he's the world number 1. Listen, anyone that was saying he doesn't deserve to be the world number 1, I was purposely ignoring that message because these are the frames that tell you you're wrong and this is why you're wrong. And I tell you what, if I was wrong and I was seeing that frame, I would be absolutely delighted I was wrong because this is exactly why he wants snooker to be entertaining and that's what he's great for. Fantastic there from Judd Trump to get himself 1 frame behind. I've just realised that, you know, he's done all that, not to be 2-5 down, but absolutely massive match, massive frame, and a massive season for him that he could still potentially try and salvage loads positive things out of. But right now, keep your head down, mode focus, and make sure you're going to be there when it matters. You will be. Frame number 8 for Judd Trump, we potentially could still see somehow, I don't know how, lead the first session. Well, listen, we've seen that with Watchalong, but at least he had a 4-1 over 4-2 lead over Liam Highfield. Highfield was playing by far better snooker in the end of the first session, but I mean, the fact that Watchalong was leading after the first 9 frames was incredible. Tell you what, this is going to be beyond belief there if Wilson is to somehow, I would say, bottle the 4-1 over lead and may allow Trump to be getting himself back in front with a 5 frames to 4 of the advantage. 3-4 is so much different than 2-5, absolutely. Listen, if it's 2-5, from the way that we've seen, it converts itself into 2-6, and then base case scenario, it is going to be 3-6 to me. In that case, 2-5, it probably won't be. Well, you probably will be, to be fair, because I wouldn't say that Wilson deserved 2-7. So, yeah, it would have been a 3-6 in a base case scenario now for Trump. Right now, it is the worst case scenario that he gets himself a 3-6. It's a bad shot there from Wilson, Let's see what Trump can see out of those reds. I feel like he can't really see the most dangerous one, although it is going to be close. So even if to be fair, even if he can see it, then the cue ball is going to be heading straight into nowhere, which I'm pretty sure why Trump is taking a bit of a extra time there, sort of realize on that what he needs to try and do here. Yeah, I mean, that cue ball is going to be in a very nasty position for him at this stage. And yeah, just looking at the way, even if he takes a different shot away, he can't get on the black. With 99% of a chance, I'll tell you. 100% he can't get on the pink. And then the blue is only possible into the left middle, which is the opposite side of where the cue ball is. So, yeah, I feel like if he can find a safety, he should play a safety shot. But the problem is, I feel like it's so much easier for you to try and find an attacking shot than it is for you to play a safety shot there. And that's exactly what Trump has done. So just carefully playing a safety shot here onto the most dangerous of those reds. Good shot there, an important shot as well, just to showcase that he's still going to be having his mind switched on, not just the factor of adrenaline rushing through his head after what he's done in the previous frame. Well, could be the comeback of the season. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit of the overreaction because I've seen a couple of those, but that one was so good. I mean, his comeback against Si Jiahui without needing snookers was fantastic of a clearance, but this one certainly is going to be such a, great showcase of, Wilson was getting so much luck in that frame, and he was still not able to convert that one. Many a time a player lost when his opponent needed snookers. I will have a ripping effect. Let's see how Wilson can react. Wow, surely this is not going to be a fluke. Wow, this could be the reaction that Wilson certainly did not need. But dare we say that Trump now has had a run of the ball. That is, wow. Basically, he's trying to hammer the red into the right corner. Remember when I said right corner, missed that by a mile, that red cannoned onto the cue ball and dropped into the yellow pocket. That is absolutely extraordinary, but it's only what he deserves. I mean, Wilson can't say that he's not been getting those things, especially in the previous frame. And it's now over to you, Judd Trump, to try and make the most out of it. As I said, 4-5, by the way, was the prediction for me in favour of Gary Wilson. If I could change it after 4-1, I would have, but I didn't, because that's not what predictions is all about. So right now, could we see a 4-4 draw, which for Trump must feel like a 10-0 win, especially against, for me, the toughest of qualifiers that you could have potentially been up against. I know he's not the highest rated player on the tour. I'm pretty sure the likes of Jones. No. Is he going to be Jones? Because if you count him with his 250,000 worth of ranking points before he starts his campaign, he's still going to be ranked as the, what's he called? Inside the top 32. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be now. But anyway, Ali Carter and stuff like that. Of course, it is going to be, for me, the most dangerous player and the player that can always, outplay you on his good day. And it's an interesting shot there by Trump because he clearly was playing for another red next to the black to try and make sure the black is going to be possible for him. But right now, what's he going to be able to do with another red? I mean, he's a little bit too straight on this one anyway, trying to create the angle manually with how close the red was to corner pocket. Now 11 points of the advantage, and still, look at that, even though he's on his way to potentially, I'm only saying potentially, leveling the score sheet with 4 frames each. That 429 point score just shows you how more comfortable it has been for Wilson on his frames there, where he managed to win. On top of course, making it a fantastic steal on the frame number 2 against Trump. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be very special for him if he's able to try and find himself back level. Although I wouldn't still say that this position is any easier than the one that we've seen in a couple of previous frames, which haven't been utilised at all by Trump so far. So he's now looking to try and put the blue into the left middle. Make sure you get that cue ball once again in the gap of the brown and green, which seems to be the favourite way to do it for Trump. And just wants that cue ball to speed up a little bit, and he seems like he's got that speeding up at the end. He would have had 3 options of reds to go for, but the third one is going to be the most important in relation to the positional shot for the black. I'm pretty sure he still can't get through to the pink for a while. So he just tried to open up a little bit more of the angle. Oh, I mean, that was a risky shot, but that was a brilliant shot in the end there for Trump. I thought he was going to try and drop the cue ball in behind the black so that, you know, he's going to be a little bit higher than usual and not try and touch the red next to the black. But, you know, it was risky for me. It was anything but risky for Trump there. Really controlled and played that shot pretty well. And he's going to be very close to the black, which makes it easier for him to try and pot the red after it as well. Mother of all steals for Trump was the Saudi final versus Mark Williams with 500 estate. Yeah, but listen, if you talk about it, I've seen that one, so I can easily tell you that for me, you're wrong in relation to this one. Yes, there would have been so much more on the line, but the only good shot for me, and when I say good, was out of this world, was the first red into the middle because of how, you know, how much there was to give away and how little of the pocket did he have to aim. These shots that he's played, the snooker was outstanding. Wilson got himself to blame for not hitting the yellow, by the way. But still, that shot on the yellow into the green pocket was absolutely outrageous. The green was good in itself, but when you look at the way the cue ball was managed to travel from the green to the brown, it was excellent. The brown was outstanding again for how far he's managed to get that cue ball to be running while still getting the brown in. The blue was simple, the pink was really good, and the black was absolutely outrageous as well for how much was at stake in relation to this one. But listen, I know it's a decider of the final and it's against Mark Williams, but it's a Saudi. Anything that happens at the Crucible has to take the edge, whether it's the first round, whether it's, I wouldn't say the qualifier because it's not like the Crucible. So I would say anything that happens beyond the first round is going to be absolutely special. And I get your point completely, but if you take the money out of it, you could say the trophy, and the trophy probably is the only thing that takes it over the edge. But apart from that, it's a no match because of how, you know, I can't remember the entirety of it, but I'm pretty sure Williams was not really getting away with all these chances there that he was leaving away, and that's exactly what Wilson was doing. But of course, Trump managed to get a little bit of revenge on him because he's now getting a break of 51 points and counting, despite making that fantastic red into the right corner. Wilson smiling there as if to say that the kiss that Trump got on the black is fortunate again. But as I say, if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't really be complaining about it. By the way, I forgot to check if a referee has announced that this is going to be the last frame of the session. I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine for one more because it's still 1.5 hours clear of the second session match, which, by the way, feel free to tune in for that one for. Loads of investment for me. Ronnie O'Sullivan, once again, for the fourth time in his career, is going to be looking for that world number 8 title. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he's going to have a better form than the one that he had last year, year before, or slightly better in the quarterfinal appearance in 2023 than what he's managed. And in the end, it is going to be a break of 65 points. And look at that. This is where it all started. This is where it all started. And somehow that red has found the back of the yellow pocket, despite, you know, the original effort being into the right corner of the table. Hopefully WSD can post that frame later on YouTube. Yeah, certainly should, because that one is the highlight of the tournament if I've seen one. I mean, you could talk about the 3 snookers for Karen Wilson, but to me, pure quality, that was better. That was better. And you can't tell me that wasn't just about as important, because I get that it's 3-7 or it's 2-8. No, that was for a respawn. No, that was 6-8 or 7-all. So that, to me, especially against Stan Moody, with all the respect to Stan, but he's a debutant, it's nowhere near as important as, you know, not allowing that 2-5 of the gap in favour of Gary Wilson. And look at what happened now. Yes, it was coming from a fluke, but it's now a break of 78 points and counting. Could still be a century, you know. The plant of reds does go into the corner, it would seem. So, yeah, Trump, a little bit of exhibition there. Although he got the spin right. Oh, look at that for a shot. I mean, I say exhibition. Could not have played that shot any better in relation to the cubal control. Look at where he's finished on the pink. Fantastic shot there. Now, just make sure you keep this one going. Because, oh, listen. Look at that for a technique. I mean, that was pretty much boundary on a push shot there that he was doing. Fantastic break of 85 points and counting. Because, listen, it wasn't easy at the point when it started. And now it's going to be A break of, as I say, 86 points and counting. So could still be on for a potential 128. And more importantly, he has now found himself level with Gary Wilson for the first time since the first frame of the match. Incredible stuff out there. And now the break of 94 points. The player that has been the king of the centuries for a couple of seasons has to be taken, has to be given the top spot away to Xiaoxing so far, unless he's going to have absolutely record-breaking on all levels from the Crucible. But it is certainly going to be a great addition, and it's for Watchalong ahead of the potential of the evening session. As I say, I'm still looking forward to seeing if it is going to be one more frame, which it probably should be. Cyprus says, nice comeback. It certainly has been a fantastic comeback from 4-1 down, 4-2 down, and now that 7th frame was absolutely extraordinary there for Judd. And he's about to have another century in frame number 8. Off a fluke, yes, but listen, you take those when they come your way, because, as I said previously, Gary Wilson is certainly the one that cannot complain too much about here because of his experience, but ultimately because of, the run of the ball that he's been getting pretty much in the majority of those previous 7 frames. And Trump still, playing with that cue ball as if it's a yo-yo, trying to send it around the table twice, 3 times, and it's 5 cushions, and he's still going to be, semi-perfectly lined up for the pink. Takes the pink nicely, and 2 cushion escape on the black. Fantastic break there from Chomp. And I tell you what, he certainly wants this match to carry on. I'll see if there's going to be a handshake, which there shouldn't be. But for now, it is going to be a break of 128 points, and it is going to be the frame number 9. Well, what a frame this is going to be to decide on who's going to be the winner of the first session. 4-1 down, can he try and pull off an Alicata against John Higgins, who was 4-0 down, but still managed to win that session by 5 frames to 4. Gary Wilson will need good resolve to get his head back on winning this match, whatever this session finishes. Wilson will be glad it is over with. Listen, on my computer I've got DaVinci Resolve. If that works for him, that's fine. To me, right now, he wants to try and get the easiest chance in the world. Anything other than that, I feel like Trump has got a really good chance of coming back to the table. But listen, if you take that beyond that point, if I was Trump, and I'm not Trump by any means, I would be absolutely delighted to see the scoreline of 4-5 down. Honestly, I said the same about Xiaoxing against Liam Highfield, and I understand that it's different opposition. One is a proven, ranking winner. Another one is a qualifier that, underachieved for his talent. And also it is a little bit different with Xiaoxing and Trump as well. But 4-1 down against someone as good as Gary Wilson as he was after those 5 frames. 6-3, at that point I said 6-3 is not likely and 6-3 is not good enough. Right now he got himself only 1 frame away in worst case scenario, and now it could still be somehow, despite playing not a horrible 5 frames of snooker to start this, he could still be producing a fantastic comeback, win 4 frames on the bounce, and be the one leading the second session by 5 frames to 4. So it should be an announcement of the final frame of the session, because he should get 9 of those in the morning, and then 10 potentially if it is dual distance in the afternoon, in the evening. And it is going to be final frame of the session. So Gary Wilson to break, and Gary Wilson to pray that he gets at least a chance here, I would say. Listen, it's tough sometimes, but I got no real sympathy for him. He only has himself to blame, not getting over the line in that particular frame of frame number 7. Yes, Champ was fortunate in frame number 8, but he was fortunate in one of those frames, and then he's managed to grind out the other 3 so far. So, yeah, let's see what's he going to be. He's got a red available straight away. Pretty much identical to the first shot of the match that he had. That one, he was taken with a cross double. This one I felt like he'll fancy, try and pot it. Nope, that's way too much of the front jaw. Make sure you miss the double kiss though, which was very important. And that red is still going to be way too close to the yellow pocket for comfort. Yeah, that one should be taken away there by Gary Wilson. But still, at least he's got a little bit of room to try and make around the table there with the cue ball. So Chomp shouldn't be too worried about that one. 27 minutes since his last post time, and that's going to be down to 0 as soon as the cue ball stays on the table, which it will. Wrong side of a blue straight away, which won't, improve his mood. But I feel like taking the brown here is going to be the better thing from the positional point. I'm not sure if he's got the angle on the blue to try and take that cue ball around the globe, you know. Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't have that. So it's brown or nothing. Well, he feels like he can take the blue around the globe. To me, he's going to be able to catch one of those bold colours. And somehow he manages to avoid all of them. Has he overplayed it? Has he overplayed it somehow? No, he's actually absolutely perfect there. That is a fantastic shot there. Once again by Wilson. Wonderful cueing. You know, he certainly managed to power that one home. About as close to the yellow and to its own pocket as it was possible. But still, listen, let's have a look again. Spin just about kicks in time to make sure he avoids the yellow. And he manages to skip over the yellow pocket as well. And he bounces away off the bulk. It was close to the right middle, but listen, if you play a shot like that with so many risks, it's always going to be close. The good news for Wilson is that he was on the right side of being close. Now, 13 points. He's going to be able to score 20 points out of it, but that's the maximum until, of course, that shot from the collar where he will try and make contact with the reds. Doesn't want to be straight, doesn't want to be anywhere near straight on the black. And a little prediction, I don't feel like it's going to work for him because of, you know, it depends which side of those reds he goes to. If he goes into the left, it may work out. If he goes into the right or the middle, I don't really see this one working out for him. And that's exactly what happens. He got into the right side. And, I mean, he's got one red into the middle. Anything but easy. He's got another one into the green pocket. Even more difficult. Like, you had to get into the left side of those reds. Otherwise, that was always going to be the thing. Because you need to power that cue ball into the reds. And when you say power, that means the cue ball is going to take it so much power into those reds, then he's going to bounce away from them. And that's exactly what happened. He bounced away too much into the middle of the table. So, well, he's going to go for the shot into the green pocket, which I feel like he's doing for the safety manner. But I say he's got lesser of a chance of making that one in. Because we've seen a similar shot like that to be missed by Wakeland. And right now he's out of form. You know, 20 points was the advantage that he was taking into that 7th frame, which is going to haunt him in dreams, unless he's going to be able to, you know, find himself in the list of the second round. Yeah, he does, at the end, decide to go for the shot into the left middle. It's difficult, but it's not quite as difficult as the right into the green pocket. Oh, he makes that one in nicely. Lovely shot there by Wilson. You know, he's thought long and hard about it. But in the end, as I say, that was the right thing for you to do, to refuse that phantom red into the green pocket. Even though he's still going to be on the wrong side of a blue, that was always going to be the case. This time around, he's got enough of the angle to surely take that cue ball around the globe in between the brown and green. Ooh. I mean, the bad thing for me is, I said there's no way you can get around the globe on the previous time. And this time around, I say it's easy, and then he catches the green on the way back. So, not doing too well with those predictions, but he's still fine for the red. It's probably not going to be anywhere near as much easy as it could have been, but at least he can take it with a mid-range shot. He just needs to make sure he doesn't play this one with too much power. Oh, he's done that, and he's still got that red to stay out of the pocket. So, 26 points is the advantage here for Wilson. He was playing for the pink, remember, so he doesn't leave anything away to Trump apart from a difficult and a risky red to be taken into the corner. So far, 2 frames out of those 8 are the only ones that have been won, whilst you know, the player that was having a decent points of a lead, which 26 would qualify as, wasn't proving to be enough there. So the red is in, but it seems like Trump has overplayed for this one, and he is going to be on the brown, but it's going to be on the brown for the middle and the wrong side of it as well if he wants to try and get that cue ball to be working in his favour. Yeah, there's not going to be any point in taking the brown here, absolutely. So it's the green into the left corner with a long shot if he feels like he's going to have anything available into the left middle. But that's going to be too much. Wow, he's trying to take that. That is surely not. Surely not. That is absolutely outrageous. I cannot believe what I've seen. Listen, now you may about be as fuming as Gary Wilson is. I don't think Trump can believe what he's seen, but he's still absolutely perfectly on the red, and he got the brown in into the pocket that he was playing for with a fluke. Remember Ali Carter, when he was taking that blue in a straight line, he's bounced away and he's jumped into the opposite middle pocket. Well, Trump took that one level too far. He tried to cut the brown into the left middle from its own spot. Absolutely 100 miles an hour with the speed. By the way, I understand everything and I support Trump, but surely he doesn't win the frame from here because that will be too cruel. So he tries to cut that brown into the left middle, 100 miles an hour. The cue ball's gone like 5 cushions or something. In the meantime, the brown has rattled in the jaws. I'm saying what a horrible shot that was because you put yourself under pressure. Meanwhile, the brown goes towards the right middle and then avoids the right middle with a huge bounce like it was a double and then bounces towards the left middle perfectly inside. That is absolutely outrageous. That is probably close to that famous fluke by Maguire against Robertson in the UK Championship, I'm pretty sure it was, which probably was the shot of the history of snooker, of the century or whatever it was, of the millennium. Yeah, listen, it's tough because, as I said, Gary Wilson was getting a good run of the ball, but I'm probably not going to say that he was getting it so well that he deserves to have the Reds, which started the break of 128 points for Judd Trump in the previous frame, and now the break of 20 points, which will continue. He's about to make it 26 points each. And look at that, by the way. 443 points, plays 455. So close in relation to the way that the total point scoring has gone. Trump there a little bit shorter of pace on the cue ball. Honestly, I do just want to see Wilson come back to the table for at least one more time because that will be so cruel. As much as I am Team Trump on this one, because I still want to see him. I feel like it is absolutely incredible that he's, won so many ranking events, but he's still only got one crown to his name of the World Championship. So he got the red in. He's a little bit too far away from the black, which is always going to happen. So surely that cue ball needs to try and find the target with those reds. He has found a target. Is he going to be on the red? He seems like he's about as good as he could have been. Great shot there by Trump. A little brush from the underneath. Make sure he didn't damage suspension too much of those reds. And now he's still got 3 more of those that are going to be forming a bunch. But I'm pretty sure one on the left-hand side will free up the other 2. And Wilson, listen, he's smiling about it. It's a defensive reaction. And he probably can't do anything that will make you sort of feel like it's not justifiable. Because I know for a fact if I was there, I would be genuinely thinking, what's the point of me playing snooker if I play well against the world number 1 and then he's got 2 frames like that? It's a good question, but listen, it's just one of those things you have to try and hang on with. And yeah, maybe he'll get his own luck in the second session, because for now, it seems like he's not going to have another chance on the first session here. 26 plays 41. 15 points is the advantage here for Trump, and he's about to take the pink into the right corner as well. So just having a look at the red that I mentioned, he's going to be on it if he just manages to strike that pink nicely. Although he's looking at another couple of reds, which I'm not too sure what that's all about. So maybe I'm not seeing the entire picture, because the longer that he looks into those reds, the more I'm going to actually sense that he's going to try and play into them. Nah, he sort of tried to sit in the fence there, He's tried to play for both of those reds to be taken into the corner and just see whichever one he likes more. Seemed like it's going to be the top one, so not the one that I suggested. And yeah, taking that one away nicely was just very close in relation to touching the other red first. But it does seem like it's about to be the third 50 plus break of Trump's match so far in the 9 frames. Only needs the pink to be taken, and just once again, he's got those 2 reds, which are the only 2 reds that he needs to try and get himself through to a 5-4 lead incredibly. I mean, I still cannot comprehend what I'm seeing here, because, to be taking yourself in that position, 135 balls spotted, he's going to have a little bit more points, but I'm pretty sure some of them are going to be down to foul shots. And ahead by 28 points right now, remaining 51. So yeah, he needs to get that down to 35 remaining, and then at that point he should have more than enough points to keep Gary Wilson in his seat. And what a story this is going to be for Judd Trump. He could still be something that you look back on if it is the way for him to win the second crown of the World Championship, and saying he could have been easily 2-5 down. There's no way you're going to be coming back from that comfortably. And listen, Those are things that champions do. Wilson's done that against Moody, but once again, there's a thing about doing that against Stan Moody, which has never been to the Crucible, and is a whole different level. As the red is in, so the frame ball is in. Wilson, he's going to be devastated, but listen, he's got a bit of a frustrated look on his face and just saying, well, what can I do? And it's true. Let's see if we're going to be witnessing a century break, though. It's a break of 69 points. 35 at the table. So 2 snookers needed for now as it stands. Wilson probably will be coming back to the table if this red is missed. But, well, that fluke on the red started a century in frame number 8. That fluke on the brown started and it, well, continued an incredible break of 70 points and counting. Trump clearly taking this one with extra bit of care to make sure that black is going to disappear. Oh, it felt like it didn't have the angle on the yellow. So may as well just try and carefully play this one for the long shot here. So might prevent us from seeing the century break number 2 from Trump's point of view. And the yellow is going to stay out. So it will be a bit of a disappointment look from Gary Wilson's face, to say the least. But it will be down to Judd Trump taking a 5-4 of a lead with a break of 77 points. And, well, if someone had told you that Judd Trump will have to rely on 2 massive flukes for 205 points of the latest 2 frames, you probably would not have believed that. But in the end, it's a massive difference between being 4-1 down and now having a lead of 5 frames to 4. Just ask Ali Carter. It hasn't worked out too well for him in the second session against John Higgins, but at least Judd Trump has given himself a bit of a chance to try and cheer for something, as he now takes 5-4 of a lead against Gary Wilson into session number 2. Make sure you tune in less than an hour and 15 minutes worth of time, because Ronnie O'Sullivan is going to be taking on Watchalong for a place in the second round. The first session out there should probably deliver just about as much as this one. Feel free to tune in and feel free to be watching on what's going to happen at between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Watchalong. We'll be back in the evening session to see the resolution of Judd Trump against Gary Wilson and see which one of those players will make it down to the second round. Meanwhile, Chris Wakelin and Liam Pullen are still battling away for the last frame as Wakelin leads by 5 frames to 3. Once again, thank you very much for everyone tuned in, and feel free to be back at just an hour time. O'Sullivan continues to try and have that search for the 8th world title, and Watchalong is going to have his debut at the Crucible. Which one of them has got what he takes to take the first session away? Once again, thanks for watching and stay tuned in for more snooker as the World Championship properly gets underway.
Reaching for the stars.